Chapter 4580. Qin Yarrow and the white-robed woman were fighting at a large lake in the Chaos Immortal Mansion. It was for a godly medicine in the celestial pond on the hill next to the lake. The name of the godly medicine was the Enlightenment Violet Lotus. Although it was not a top-level godly medicine, it could help a cultivator break through to the saint level. The battle between Qin Yarrow and the white-robed woman had already turned into a clash of eternal battle techniques. Rumble, the white-robed woman's fists shook the heavens and the earth. The sun, moon, and stars trembled as if they would fall from the sky at any moment. Qin Yarrow's heaven-transforming hand wasn't to be underestimated either. She could transform any kind of essence into the most primitive form and then devour it, turning it into her own power. Again, die. The two silhouettes radiated endless divine light of the great path, and they once again clashed together. The extremely violent waves of power swept out in all directions. In their hands, the eternal-level combat skills erupted with unimaginable power. These two, wherever the two experts went, everything was crushed. Even the void was punched out by them, and black holes were created one after another. Even the chaotic energy was punched out by them. Everyone who saw this was indescribably shocked. An ordinary quasi-supreme being was as weak as an ant in front of these two powerhouses. They could definitely crush them. What was a monster? This was a monster, almost invincible in the same realm. The lake was blasted apart, and the surrounding mountains were also crumbling. Only the mountain where the petal of enlightenment was located remained standing. This mountain wasn't simple. It was protected by a formation. Otherwise, it would have collapsed long ago. At this time, a sneaky figure took advantage of the battle between Qin Yarrow and the white-robed woman to carefully look at the pond where the Enlightenment Violet Lotus was. The pond wasn't big, and the lotus rooted in it was enveloped by a purple light. "Little Baldy, are you trying to steal the divine herb?" Just as a figure was about to pluck away the godly herb, a figure suddenly appeared at the peak of the mountain. "Your Fan Xiu's successor? What are you waiting for if you don't come out and accept your death?" The black figure's voice was extremely imposing. The person who wanted to steal the Enlightenment Violet Lotus knew he couldn't hide it anymore, so he stepped forward. Only then did the spectators realize what was happening on the mountain ridge where Violet Lotus was. "Who is that?" "Hey Tian. That little Baldy is out of luck," someone exclaimed. "Little Baldy and Erebus, those two fellows are not good people," someone said through gritted teeth. He had just been robbed by He Tian, and there was still a big bump on the back of his head. He couldn't help but admire He Tian's accuracy and ruthlessness. In the void not far from the mountain ridge, many people were watching the show. There were also a few young disciples from other worlds standing in the sky. Back then, Mai Tian had robbed so many cultivators. Most of the cultivators from Eternal World had their bodies smashed by him, and all the cultivation resources on them had been looted as well. He Tian actually dares to appear here? A young man in white clothes was in disbelief. His name was Wu Shentong. He was from the Wu family of Eternal World. His cultivation base had broken through to the peak of the quasi-supreme stage. Amongst those from Eternal World, he was definitely one of the best. "Senior brother Wu, you fell for it as well?" A youngster cast a ferocious gaze at He Tian, who was standing on the mountain peak. The youngster had been robbed badly by He Tian. Even his clothes had been taken away. Now that he saw He Tian again, he nearly charged forward to fight him. Just as He Tian and the little monk were confronting each other on the mountain peak, in another region, Ji Ling was surrounded by a dozen experts. "Hand over the extreme divine source or die." Ji Ling, a middle-aged man with a rough appearance and a full beard, held a great spear in his hand. Extreme divine source was the source power left behind by an extreme supreme. It was incomparably precious. "Humph. Come and take it if you have what it takes." Ji Ling sneered. "Kill." The middle-aged man with the great spear did not waste any words. With a roar, he brandished the great spear in his hand and stabbed at Ji Ling. The man's simple attack displayed great power. The other experts also roared and attacked. In an instant, killing intent filled the air. The Tao artifact shone with dazzling divine light. Vast and mighty vital energy stirred up a strong gust of wind in the area. How could anyone who dared to attack Jiyu Ling be an ordinary person? There was a total of 17 experts. All of them were quasi-supreme. When they attacked together, it gave off a shocking feeling, as though there were thousands of soldiers and horses charging at them. In their opinion, Jiyu Ling had gone mad. She actually dared to fight 17 quasi-supreme alone. Among these quasi-supreme, there were even a few peak quasi-supreme existences. Haha, bring it on. Jiyu Ling laughed loudly. She pushed her feet on the ground, and the ground beneath her immediately collapsed. At the same time, she shot forward like an arrow, fiercely pouncing into the crowd. Shouts and screams immediately rang out. Figures flew out like broken cloth bags. Dao artifacts broke, and blood splattered. In just an instant, 5 or 6 people were sent flying by Jiyu Ling. Jiyu Ling was domineering to the extreme. She was like a terrifying Tyrannosaurus Rex. With every move she made, a violent power burst out. Her fists were indestructible. Those martial artists who were hit would die, and those who were touched would be injured. Her attacks were simple, direct, and effective. With a single punch, she shattered a blade light and smashed the head of a quasi-supreme saber Dao expert, causing him to die instantly. With a sweep of her leg, the spear was broken and the strong spear-wielding man was kicked in the waist. His entire body immediately twisted strangely and was almost split into 2. It seemed like he would not be able to survive. Jiyu Ling's every attack contained the power of her great Dao. Those who were hit by her would be injured by the great Dao. Monster, this guy is simply a monster. Those 17 quasi-supreme only lasted for 3 breaths of time, and more than half of them were killed by Jiyu Ling. The remaining people were scared out of their wits, and directly turned to flee. This was a complete suppression. There was no suspense. Jiyu Ling waved her right hand, and a broken saber immediately flew up from the ground. She then grabbed it, and exerted force with her 5 fingers. She forcibly crushed the saber, and then threw it towards those who were fleeing. The fragments pierced through the air, and blood splattered everywhere. Those who wanted to flee were directly penetrated by the fragments. They fell to the ground, twitched a few times, and then stopped moving. Jiyu Ling's power of the Great Dao obliterated the vitality of these people. Swoosh! Jiyu Ling took a step forward, and instantly arrived in front of the middle-aged man. You are really too stupid. Chapter 4581. Jiyu Ling was Jiyu Fei and Yang Er's only daughter. Her cultivation was inherited from Jiyu Fei, and her alchemy skills were also inherited from her family. Yang Er's alchemy skills had also reached the quasi-supreme realm. She was only 1 step away from becoming an extreme master alchemist. This was many times higher than the cultivation of the founding ancestor of Yang Er's sect. The founding ancestor of Yang Er's sect was only a sage and was known as the alchemy saint. The cauldron of myriad medicines was also a saint weapon when it was passed to Yang Er. But now, the cauldron of myriad medicines had been refined into a quasi-supreme Dao weapon by Yang Er. Yang Er was also here. With Jiyu Fei's cultivation, it wasn't difficult to find Yang Er because of the special connection between them. Yang Er's indifferent personality didn't want to fight for fortunes with others. However, she knew very well that in the cultivation world, the strong preyed on the weak. Only when one's fist was strong enough would others not dare to provoke you. At this time, Yang Er was on a short mountain in the distance. She watched as her daughter displayed her prowess and killed more than a dozen people who wanted to kill her daughter. She begged for mercy. My daughter is like her father. Yang Er sighed and looked up at the sky. You can't see me. Jiyu Fei was watching Yang Er up in the sky. When he saw her suddenly look up, he hurriedly looked away, feeling a little embarrassed. In fact, Jiyu Fei was sitting in a lotus position in the sky with layers of formations around him. Even though Yang Er had a quasi-supreme realm cultivation, she couldn't see Jiyu Fei. Jiyu Ling's personality was like Jiyu Fei's, and Yang Er was right. Yang Er knew her personality very well. She was aloof from worldly affairs, indifferent to fame and fortune, and hesitant. She was able to cultivate to the quasi-supreme realm all because of Jiyu Fei. If Jiyu Ling's personality was like her mother's, she would have died countless times on the ancient road of the human tribe. Speak, who sent you here to die? Jiyu Ling looked coldly at the middle-aged man in front of her. Killing people and robbing them of their treasures is a common occurrence in the cultivation world. Why would anyone send us here? The middle-aged man gritted his teeth and said. He could sense an extremely dangerous aura from Jiyu Ling. Jiyu Ling already had the intention to kill him. Once such an existence had the intention to kill someone, it would definitely make the other party bleed. Very good. Are you not going to speak? I have my ways to make you speak. After saying that, Jiyu Ling's right hand shot out to grab the middle-aged man. This seemingly casual grab gave the middle-aged man a completely different feeling. In the middle-aged man's eyes, it was as if the other party had covered the entire world with a single hand. One hand to cover the sky. The middle-aged man didn't move. It wasn't that he didn't want to dodge, but the other party had already locked onto him. No matter how he dodged, the other party's hand would follow him like a shadow. Raw. The middle-aged man operated his secret technique with all his might. A ball of divine light emerged from his body and enveloped him. The next moment, the middle-aged man involuntarily flew towards Jiyu Ling. Seeing this, the middle-aged man could not help but be moved. Without any suspense, the middle-aged man was blasted apart by Jiyu Ling's punch. His body and soul were almost completely destroyed. In the end, Jiyu Ling used a soul-searching secret technique to read the memories of the middle-aged man's nascent spirit. Only then did he know what had happened. The Eternal Divine Dynasty was located on the Celestial Continent in the Eternal World. As one of the three major factions in the Celestial Continent, the Eternal Divine Dynasty had many factions attached themselves to it. The reason why this group of people were looking for Jiyu Ling was because of the Stone Clan, which was one of the major factions under the Eternal Divine Dynasty. Jiyu Fei had reached an agreement with the Eternal Divine Dynasty's ancestor that they would not interfere. However, the Stone Clan wanted nothing more than to tear Jiyu Fei to pieces, because one of their ancestors had fallen at the hands of Jiyu Fei. When the supreme ancestor of the Eternal Divine Dynasty had led an army to attack the Eternal Divine Dynasty, he had been stopped by Jiyu Fei in outer space. Jiyu Fei had killed several Supreme Grade Supremes with a snap of his fingers. Among the Supreme Grade Supremes were the Stone Clan's Supreme Grade Patriarchs. The Stone Men were a major clan in the Eternal Godly Dynasty, and they had a Supreme Great Ancestor in charge. But now that their great ancestor was dead, the Stone Men were in grave danger. Without the protection of their Supreme Grade Great Ancestor, the Stone Clan's position in the Eternal Divine Dynasty was unstable. Even in the Eternal World, cultivation resources were limited. There were three major factions in the Celestial Continent, and the Eternal Divine Dynasty was only one of them. Within the Eternal Divine Dynasty, there were countless other factions. Although the Eternal Imperial family was powerful, they had to be careful when dealing with the other factions. With the death of the Stone Clan's Supreme Patriarch, the other major factions naturally coveted the Stone Clan's territory. The Stone Clan didn't dare to seek revenge on Jiyu Fei, so they went after Jiyu Ling instead. However, they didn't expect Jiyu Ling to be so difficult to deal with. Jiyu Ling was almost invincible among those of the same rank. She crushed the 17 experts of the Stone Clan, causing the leader of the Stone Clan to flee in fear. The 17 experts of the Stone Clan were all killed by Jiyu Ling's mother. Jiyu Ling came to Yang Er's side. Your cultivation base seems to have increased again. Yang Er smiled at her daughter. Jiyu Ling sighed. Unfortunately, I can't take that step. Yang Er rubbed Jiyu Ling's head. Sometimes, you can't succeed no matter what you try. But sometimes, you can let go of everything, and success will follow naturally. Mother, could it be that Jiyu Ling was overjoyed? Was her mother going to become a supreme? Yang Er pondered for a moment. I don't know. I never force anything. It's best if it succeeds, but it's fine if it doesn't. Haha, Jiyu Ling laughed. Her mother was indeed going to become a supreme. A clan with two supremes. This was a wonderful story in the cultivation world. Of course, she didn't have to become a supreme. Madam is going to become a supreme. The Star Beast Sovereign and Black Wind Sovereign, who were following behind Jiyu Fei, were shocked. Just a little bit more, but it won't be long. Gu Fei sat cross-legged above the 9 heavens, overlooking the entire immortal mansion world. He could see Yang Er's cultivation base at a glance. She was actually on the verge of a breakthrough. She was in a mysterious state. If she took a step forward, she would become a supreme. If she took a step back, she would still be a quasi-supreme. Ha, Gu Fei threw his head back and laughed. His voice spread throughout the immortal mansion world. The experts who were fighting for the good fortune in the immortal mansion world were all shocked beyond belief. Father, Jiu Ling looked up at the sky. What's that guy laughing at? Elsewhere, the old tortoise also looked up at the sky. Chapter 4582. On a small mountain in the Chaos Immortal Mansion world, immortal energy swirled around. It was as though the sound of the great Tao could be heard reverberating through the air. A faint fragrance permeated the air, giving those who smelled it a feeling of enlightenment. It was as though the difficult problems that had plagued them for countless years had become simple. All of this originated from a small pond on the mountain peak. More accurately, it originated from a purple lotus in the pond. Although the violet lotus of enlightenment was not some heaven-defying divine medicine, it could allow one to comprehend the Tao and attain the Tao fruit of a sage. That aspect alone made the violet lotus of enlightenment quite rare. It had to be said, divine medicines that could allow one to comprehend the Tao were very rare items in every world. The violet lotus of enlightenment was something that even the experts from Eternal World would covet. That alone was enough to prove its value. As Qin Yarrow and the white-robed woman were fighting, a little Baldy nearly stole the violet lotus of enlightenment from the mountain peak. Little Baldy, who is your master? He Tian stopped the little monk on the mountain peak. Humph. You already know the answer. The little Baldy flipped his right hand and an alms bowl appeared in his hand. The moment He Tian saw the alms bowl in the little monk's hand, his eyes glinted with incomparable sharpness. You really are the successor of that evil little Baldy. Heh. My luck today is too good. He Tian stared at the little monk, the corners of his lips curling into a sneer. He had some grudges with the little Baldy, Fan Xiu. Fan Xiu was nowhere to be found, so he could not settle the score with him. Since that was the case, he would first take down his disciple and collect some interest. People say that He Tian is the most despicable person in the world of Blackhands. Now that I have met him, he truly lives up to his reputation. The little Baldy was not afraid of He Tian. What did you say? He Tian was displeased. This fellow actually said that he was the #1 person in the world of Blackhands. Son of a bitch, the #1 person in the world of Blackhands is your master, Fan Xiu. The little monk smiled and said, is that not the case? I am your junior and a child. Don't you feel ashamed for attacking a child? P2E. Are you a child? Fuck, I can see that your nascent divinity aura is practically that of an ancient antique. You're still pretending to be young? How shameless. He Tian was hopping mad. Although this fellow looked like a child, the aura of his primordial spirit was not human. No matter what, you're bullying the weak. The little monk said proudly. Damn it, so what if I'm bullying the weak? Let's capture you first. Erebus couldn't be bothered to waste his breath on the little Baldy. He took a step forward and reached out with his right hand to grab the little Baldy. 5 beams of divine light shot out from his hand and enveloped the little monk within them. Hehe, I'm not playing with you anymore. The little monk chuckled. In the next moment, a ball of divine light instantly enveloped him. In the next moment, the void trembled and he actually disappeared in the void in an instant. He was nowhere to be seen. What? A greater teleportation Dao seal? Only now did He Tian realize that this little fellow had been playing with him from the beginning to the end. Damn it. He Tian was about to go crazy from anger. He directly punched the small mountain. Boom. With a loud bang, the entire small mountain actually exploded from his punch. Instantly, rocks flew everywhere and dust filled the air. He Tian grabbed the violet lotus of enlightenment and rushed out. However, as soon as he popped his head out, a fist flew towards his face at an extremely fast speed. Bang! He Tian only felt his vision go black. Stars danced in the sky as he directly fell from the sky. The violet lotus of enlightenment in his hand was also snatched away by someone. Who's the one plotting against me? He Tian was filled with hatred. He directly fell from the sky and smashed a large hole in the ground. Boom! In the next moment, the ground exploded. Like an extremely ferocious beast, He Tian soared into the sky. Who is it? Get the hell out here for me. He Tian's anger burned the 9 heavens. He wanted to kill someone. Who do you want to get the hell out here? A cold voice was heard from the side. He Tian suddenly turned around. In the next moment, he immediately became terrified and directly turned to escape. Come back. An ancestral dragon's claw directly grabbed at He Tian. As if the entire world was enveloped by this ancestral dragon's claw, He Tian actually flew towards the ancestral dragon's claw involuntarily. He Tian activated his Shen Qi, wanting to break the seal of the ancestral dragon's claw and escape. However, under the cover of the ancestral dragon's claw, He Tian could not escape at all. In the next moment, He Tian was caught by the ancestral dragon's claw. Big brother tortoise, what are you doing? He Tian had no choice but to be terrified. The opponent was the old tortoise, the son of the Tai Huang Emperor, the leader of the Heaven Realm's demon clans. He was the strongest existence in the Heaven Realm's demon clans. You're the tortoise, your whole family are tortoises. The old tortoise was furious. This guy actually dared to trick him. It was too hateful. Yes, I'm a tortoise. Just treat me as a tortoise and let me go. He Tian hurriedly smiled apologetically. In fact, the name Old Tortoise was coined by Ji Yufei. This old tortoise was the son of the Tai Huang Emperor and the eldest of the Tai Huang Emperor's 9 sons. His real name was Baxia. Hee. The old tortoise rolled his eyes. How about this? Give me half of the things you looted, and I'll be magnanimous and let you go. What do you think? What? Why don't you just rob me? He Tian cried. He had worked so hard to loot, and now he had to hand over half of it. Wasn't this asking for his life? Ha. The old tortoise laughed and said, aren't I robbing you now? He Tian was speechless. Hand it over. Otherwise, you'll have to suffer a little. The old tortoise said as he held He Tian's hand with a little more force. Ouch, don't. He Tian immediately cried out. All right, I'll hand it over, okay? He Tian's heart bled at the thought of handing over half of the looted resources to the old tortoise. Half of the looted resources was not a small amount. It had to be said that the majority of the targets he looted were the divine sons and saintesses from Eternal World. The items on them were not ordinary. Hehe, that's more like it. Consider it my compensation for the mental damage. The old tortoise grinned. What the hell, compensation for mental damage? He Tian gave Ji Yufei the middle finger in his heart. He had always been the one looting others, but now, he was the one being robbed. Was this the legendary reversal of fortune? He Tian wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Ha, retribution. There were people from the human realm who had been looted by Mahakala in the vicinity. They were all gloating at this scene. They couldn't wait for someone to teach this evil fellow a lesson. Just as He Tian was being robbed by the old tortoise, 2 extremely powerful divine senses instantly locked onto them. What's going on? The old tortoise was taken aback, but He Tian was both surprised and overjoyed. Hand over the items. The 2 experts charged at the old tortoise at the same time. Extremely powerful energy waves erupted from their bodies. They were Qin Yarrow and the white-robed woman. Whoosh! The old tortoise did not even think about it. He took He Tian and fled, disappearing in an instant. After them, Qin Yarrow and the white-robed woman chased after them. They had just been engaged in a life-and-death battle. Now, they were facing a common enemy and were chasing after the old tortoise and He Tian. This made the old tortoise and He Tian extremely depressed. These guys, Ji Yufei, who was sitting cross-legged above the 9 heavens, could not help but laugh when he saw this scene. At this time, Ji Yufei was in an extremely good mood. His wife, Yang was finally about to become an extreme-grade sovereign. Yang was already in an indescribably mysterious state. He did not intend to help Yang. Whether she could become an extreme-grade sovereign or not depended entirely on herself. Others could not help her at all. Even a supreme existence in the eternal realm couldn't create an extreme Dao paragon. Yang and Jiyu Ling needed to have a good chat. At this time, a powerful eternal-grade devil Dao aura entered the Chaos Immortal Mansion from the outside. Countless living beings were terrified to the extreme. Jiyu Fei could not help but frown when he sensed this devil Dao aura. "Go and take a look," Jiyu Fei said to Tongyu beside him. "Yes." Tongyu hurriedly accepted the order and turned to leave. At this time, outside the Chaos Immortal Mansion, the battle between Di Jotian and the Great Devil had reached a climax. In the void, 9 incarnations surrounded the Great Devil. Boom! The Eternal Devil punched out, and one of Di Jotian's incarnations was immediately blown up in the void. However, Di Jotian's clone, which had been blasted apart by the Eternal Demon's punch, appeared in the void again and attacked Di Jotian. Di Jotian's mystique was simply invincible. The 9 incarnations all had the battle power of the original body. This was too terrifying. It should be known that this was equivalent to 9 Di Jotians attacking at the same time. That Great Devil was not a real eternal Great Devil. He was just a half-step eternal existence. If this Great Devil was an eternal Great Devil, he would have killed Di Jotian with a single move. Rumble, the entire void exploded, countless mountains collapsed, and the earth sank. Everything within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles was destroyed. This was simply apocalyptic. Although the half-step eternal Great Devil wasn't a true eternal Great Devil, it had already cultivated the true eternal devil power. It was precisely because of this that it could compete with Di Jotian and even suppress him. "Little guy, this demon master is not playing with you anymore." The Great Devil suddenly grinned, and in the next moment, he displayed a devil martial battle technique. "Great Devil Heavenly Hand!" The Great Devil shouted, and a devil hand appeared in the void, directly enveloping Di Jotian's 9 incarnations. The devil hand grinded down like a millstone. In the next moment, countless cracks appeared on Di Jotian's 9 incarnations, as if they were about to collapse in the void. Even Di Jotian, who was about to break through to the half-step eternal realm, could not withstand the true eternal devil power. Chapter 4583. Di Jotian was very strong. He could be said to be invincible below the Supremes. He could dominate both the mortal realm and the celestial realm. Such a powerful existence was now beaten to the point of vomiting blood. This scene really shocked all the experts who were watching the battle. At this time, the great sky demon hand formed by the demon from the eternal world came crashing down from the sky. It was as terrifying as a millstone that could destroy heaven and earth. Under the hands of the great sky demon, everything was obliterated. The void was being destroyed without a sound. Damn it. Just a little bit more. Di Jotian channeled his Shen Qi with all his might. Dazzling divine light exploded from his body. It was as if his entire body was on fire. Within the divine light, countless Dao patterns appeared and intertwined. However, no matter how hard Di Jotian fought, he could not fight against the demon. The demon's cultivation was higher than his, after all. The great sky demon hand still came crashing down on Di Jotian. Just as Di Jotian was about to be destroyed by the great sky demon hand, a huge hand suddenly reached out from the side. It grabbed Di Jotian and pulled him out from under the great sky demon hand. Boom! The great sky demon hand slammed down on the ground. The ground within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles collapsed. Dust rose high into the sky. Beams of demonic light shot out in all directions. Some unlucky fellows were pierced by the demonic light. They instantly turned into black dust and dissipated into the void. They had been destroyed in an instant. All the spectators were dumbfounded. They turned around and ran. Damn it. So even spectators had to pay the price with their lives. The demon suddenly turned around. 2 beams of blood-colored demonic light shot out from his demonic eyes. They were more than 10 miles long. They were like peerless demonic swords that pierced through the void. What are you being so fierce for? Be careful. I'll beat you up until all your teeth fall out. The person who had saved Di Jotian was Tong Yu. Among everyone present, only Tong Yu had the ability to save Di Jotian. No one else had the ability to do so. Furthermore, Ji Yufei had not even come out of the Chaos Immortal Mansion world. Haha, you're just a tiny native. So what if you took that step? Do you know the eternal law? The demon did not care about Tong Yu at all. The eternal law. When Tong Yu heard this, his expression immediately turned grave. I don't need your help. Di Jotian was unusually calm. He was still holding onto his battle spear, but countless cracks had appeared on it. It looked as though it could break at any moment. Boom. In the next moment, an extremely powerful aura erupted from Di Jotian's body. True eternal power was born in his body. He had finally taken the first step. Di Jotian's life and death had been decided in an instant. Although it had only been a short period of time, Di Jotian's entire life had flashed through his mind. When he was young, he was bullied and humiliated. After that, he joined a small sect. A few years later, that small sect was destroyed by other sects. His master and senior brothers were all dead, but he was still alive. Once his cultivation level was high enough, he would go back and kill everyone in the sect that had lost his master. From then on, he advanced triumphantly, sweeping through the 9 heavens. He even changed his name to Di Jotian. He wanted to become a great emperor, and in the end, he succeeded. Di Jotian was the supreme emperor of the 9 heavens. Since ancient times, the number of great emperors that had appeared in the mortal world and the celestial planes could be counted on one hand. The supreme emperor of the 9 heavens was an existence that was on par with the yin-yang emperor. Di Jotian recalled his life and gained an epiphany. At the juncture of life and death, he finally took that step and successfully transformed his divine power into eternal power. The eternal essence grew within his body. Only by successfully cultivating out the eternal essence could one be considered a half-step into the eternal realm. Di Jotian had begun transforming into the eternal Tao constitution. Naturally, this was not the true eternal stage. However, existences at the half-step eternal stage could already utilize some simple eternal laws. Neither Di Jotian nor Tong Yu possessed eternal laws. This peerless magic and combat skill was firmly in the hands of the top forces in Eternal World. Eternal laws were not something that could be easily taught. Even the heir disciples of the top forces would find it difficult to obtain the complete eternal laws. With the exception of the top forces in Eternal World, only Ji Yufei possessed eternal laws. Additionally, the eternal laws he created were in no way inferior to the eternal laws possessed by the top forces in Eternal World. Congratulations, fellow Daoist. Tong Yu looked at Di Jotian with mixed feelings. This fellow actually gained an epiphany at the juncture of life and death. His luck was truly heaven-defying. Di Jotian had plotted for countless years. He had even gone as far as to set up an ancient death trap in an entire world to gather endless life force before finally taking that step. In the end, he did not become a true eternal being. He was only a half-step eternal being. In Tong Yu's opinion, becoming a half-step eternal existence was already a very fortunate thing for him. Becoming a true extreme Tao Supreme was simply too difficult. But now, Di Jotian gained an epiphany. His cultivation base broke through the shackles and he broke through to the half-step eternal stage. In Tong Yu's opinion, this was too damn easy. Di Jotian did not say anything. Instead, he tightened his grip on the battle spear and a stream of eternal power flowed into the battle spear. Next, the countless cracks on the battle spear rapidly disappeared. Old friend, let's continue our campaign. Di Jotian stroked the battle spear in his hand and muttered to himself. Both of you, come at me together. The great demon from the eternal world glanced at the two of them coldly. He came from a supreme demon sect in the eternal world and had mastered supreme techniques. Having mastered eternal techniques, he was practically invincible among those at the same level. This was the source of Zhong Yang's confidence. Preposterous. Tong Yu was furious. This guy was just a half-step eternal fellow. They were at the same level. What right did he have to look down on him? How detestable. If you want to fight, I can do it alone. Di Jotien stepped forward with the battle spear in his hand. Is that so? Then be careful, fellow Daoist. Tongyu said. He retreated to the side. Since Di Jotien wanted to fight this demon, he would let him do it. Bang! 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 With every step Di Jotien took, the whole world shook. His aura continued to rise. It was as though the great Tao of heaven and earth was trembling under his feet. The aura that rushed out from his body directly dispersed the primordial qi of heaven and earth. Hehe, interesting. Zongyang stared at Di Jotien and grinned. This guy's cultivation had just broken through to the half-step eternal realm, but the vitality in his body was extremely strong. Just this point alone showed that Di Jotien was much stronger than those who had just broken through to the half-step eternal realm. After devouring Di Jotien's essence, qi, and spirit, his cultivation would definitely increase greatly. In Zongyang's eyes, Di Jotien was his prey. Even Tong Yu was his prey. Kill. Di Jotien did not hesitate. He directly attacked Zongyang. The battle spear in his hand instantly pierced out. The whole world was illuminated by the dazzling divine light. Hey! Zongyang sneered. He stretched out his right hand and directly grabbed the spear that was piercing through him. In an instant, he grabbed the spear that was piercing through him. Let go! Zongyang shouted. The hand that grabbed the spear shook, trying to take away Di Jotien's spear. However, countless Dao patterns suddenly burst out from the spear and shook off Zongyang's hand that was holding the spear. Several drops of devil blood dripped down and turned into a monstrous sea of blood. This was the sea of devil blood. As long as a living creature came into contact with a drop, it would be demonized and turned into a monster. Only existences stronger than Zongyang could ignore this sea of devil blood. Run! Countless experts who were watching the battle frantically fled into the distance. The sea of devil blood was rapidly expanding, directly submerging the surrounding area within a radius of millions of miles. Fortunately, this was the place where the heaven realm and the ether world met. Otherwise, many people would have died. This guy, everyone was shocked. The devil blood was directly submerging the entrance of the Chaos Immortal Mansion. At this moment, a force directly rushed out of the Chaos Immortal Mansion, directly dispersing the devil blood that was submerging it. A mass of divine light enveloped the entrance of the Chaos Immortal Mansion, blocking the devil blood that was continuing to submerge it. Master! Tong Yu turned to look at the entrance of the Chaos Immortal Mansion. Just now, it was Ji Yu Fei who had attacked. Only Ji Yu Fei could block the surging demonic blood. Otherwise, if the demonic blood entered the primal Chaos Immortal Mansion world, the countless experts who were training in the primal Chaos Immortal Mansion world would suffer. Naturally, Ji Yu Fei would not allow such a thing to happen. Whoosh! At the same time, a divine light directly broke through the devil blood sea and instantly arrived in front of Zongyang. This person was Di Jotien. He had split the devil blood sea and was extremely domineering. Devil's chaotic cosmos, Zongyang shouted. His hands danced, and the entire heaven and earth shook. Extremely chaotic power exploded, and countless pitch-black cracks appeared in the sky. A terrifying destructive power spread out, shattering everything. Buzz! The spear in Di Jotien's hand directly pierced into the chaotic void in front of Zongyang. However, the spear shook violently, as if it was facing a great resistance. The spear in Di Jotien's hand shook violently. Cracks appeared on the spear again, as if it was about to be crushed by Zongyang's terrifying devil Dao power. Roar! Di Jotien's long hair danced in the wind. His entire body seemed to be on fire. An unimaginable power erupted from his body, directly shaking the heaven and earth. Countless cracks appeared in the void around him. Seeing the spear in front of him still piercing towards him, Zongyang couldn't help but be shocked. Could it be that this guy had also grasped the eternal law? Zongyang guessed wrong this time. Di Jotien did not grasp the eternal law. However, he had fought for a lifetime, and his combat experience was incomparably rich. His combat strength was far stronger than ordinary half-step eternal experts. forcing me to use my ultimate move. Chapter 4584. The demon sect of Eternal World was definitely one of the top forces in Eternal World. The Eternal Demon Sect was the supreme demonic cultivator of Eternal World. Naturally, Eternal World was simply too big. The Eternal Demon Sect was incapable of completely unifying the demon plane and becoming the true overlord of the demonic Tao. However, there was no disputing the fact that the Eternal Demon Sect was the strongest demonic Tao force in Eternal World. As for Zhong Yang, he was an elder in the Eternal Devil Sect. Of course, there were many elders like Zhong Yang in the Eternal Devil Sect. Eternal experts were the strongest force in the Eternal Devil Sect. No matter which power or sect it was, only an eternal sovereign was an existence that held true authority. That was a battle power that could deter all directions. Only with an eternal sovereign overseeing the sect could a sect become a top-notch sect. The Eternal Demon Lord was definitely one of the strongest existences in Eternal World. As an elder of the Eternal Devil Sect, Zhong Yang had mastered the Eternal Law, which was a supreme art of the Devil Path. This made Zhong Yang almost invincible among those in the same realm. Once the Eternal Law was unleashed, Zhong Yang would be able to sweep through all opponents. Of course, almost. Meanwhile, outside the Primal Chaos Immortal Mansion, Di Jotian was fighting Zhong Yang. He had been fighting for his entire life, and was extremely powerful. His cultivation base had just broken through to the half-step Eternal Realm, but he was already able to fight Zhong Yang endlessly. Zhong Yang found this hard to believe. There were actually such heaven-defying madmen in this world, madly cultivating. Such pure warriors were the most terrifying. They lived for battle, and they died for battle. It's been a long time since I've met such a lunatic. Zhong Yang's eyes were filled with madness. He had been trapped in the half-step Eternal Realm for too long. He needed to break through and become an Eternal Realm Devil Tao Supreme. However, it was difficult, too difficult. Now that he had met Di Jotian, he could fight to his heart's content. This battle would stimulate his potential and allow him to break through the shackles of his cultivation. As long as he could become the true Eternal Devil Lord, he would be able to occupy a place in the Eternal Devil Sect. He would become the ruler of the Eternal Devil Sect, and not just a mere elder. Little fellow, to be able to witness the Eternal Law, your death is worth it. Zhong Yang grinned as he stared at Di Jotian. Humph. Eternal Law. Di Jotian didn't think much of it. In his opinion, the so-called eternal laws were created by humans. Since others could create eternal laws, why couldn't he? Hihi, you actually dare to look down on the eternal law? Very good. Very good. Zhong Yang didn't want to say anything more to Di Jotian. In the next moment, an extremely dangerous aura erupted from his body. In the next moment, a wave of devil flame seeped out from his body. The devil flame seemed ordinary, but it burned the surrounding void to the point of being annihilated. This is the eternal law. Tong Yu, who was watching the battle from the sidelines, stared at Zhong Yang. The eternal law was too attractive to him. It was a cultivation technique created by an eternal existence. However, the might of the eternal law that his opponent had unleashed was extremely weak. The others didn't have any particular thoughts about the eternal law. The reason for that was because the eternal law was simply too distant for them. At this moment, Di Jotian was glaring at Zhong Yang. He wanted to see just how heaven-defying this so-called eternal law was. Demonic fire refines the universe. Zhong Yang bellowed. In the next moment, boundless demonic flames erupted from his body and engulfed the entire world. More than a dozen experts who were watching the battle from tens of thousands of miles away were burned to ashes by the demonic flames. They didn't even have time to scream. Even an extreme-grade supremacy died under the demonic flames. The extreme-grade supremacy only struggled a few times in the demonic flames before dying. It was a pity that an extreme-grade supremacy had lost his life just to watch a show. This was simply too unjust. Tong Yu, on the other hand, ran away the moment he saw that the situation wasn't right. Roar! Di Jotian roared angrily, shaking the 9 heavens. In the next moment, 9 great path bodies rushed out of his body at the same time. At this moment, All 9 of his great path bodies exuded an eternal aura that shook the world. At this moment, Di Jotien was already a half-step eternal existence. His 9 great path bodies had also undergone shocking changes. Boom! Powerful eternal power erupted from Di Jotien's 9 great path bodies at the same time and surged towards the burning devil flame. However, the power of this devil flame was very strong. Upon contact, the divine light emitted from Di Jotien's 9 great path bodies dimmed. Countless Tao patterns around the 9 great path bodies dissipated in the devil flame. What? Di Jotien couldn't help but be shocked. This guy's eternal law was really something. Even his 9 great path bodies couldn't withstand the devil flame. Kill. Di Jotien's fighting spirit was like a rainbow. His true body broke through the layers of devil flame and attacked Zhong Yang, who was in the middle of the devil flame. At the same time, his 9 great path bodies also attacked the devil flame. In an instant, the entire void that was enveloped by the devil flame was boiling. You're courting death. Zhong Yang used the devil clan's eternal law. In the next moment, the endless demonic flames actually condensed into demonic shadows. These demonic shadows were like a demonic army that surged towards Di Jotien and his 9 bodies of the great path like a tidal wave. Boom! It was as if thousands of soldiers and horses collided in an instant. Di Jotien and his 9 great path bodies directly collapsed into countless devil shadows. However, Di Jotien and his 9 great path bodies were also shaken away at the same time. This kind of demonic power was too overbearing. It could simply destroy everything. Di Jotien suffered a great impact. Almost all of his 9 great path bodies dissipated. Even if they didn't dissipate, they became blurry. Is this the power of the eternal law? Blood trickled down the corner of Di Jotien's mouth. Cracks appeared on the battle spear in his hand again. It looked as though it could break at any moment. The hand that held the battle spear was bleeding. Boom! Countless devil shadows surged forward again. In an instant, they engulfed Di Jotien and his 9 great path bodies. Can't even withstand a single blow. Zhong Yang sneered. This little fellow who had just advanced to the half-step eternal realm actually dared to take on the eternal law head-on. He was simply overestimating himself. He was simply courting death. There was no doubt about the power of the eternal law. Even in the eternal world, no one would dare to look down on the eternal law. It had to be known that it was a supreme technique created by an eternal paragon. Raw. Di Jotien struggled to break out from the countless devil shadows. His entire body was stained with blood. The battle spear in his hand was broken and he kept coughing out blood. At this moment, he had to admit that the eternal law was indeed strong. It was ridiculously strong. In the face of the eternal law, no matter how rich one's combat experience was, it was useless. Hehe, little fellow, you're not bad. You actually managed to block 2 of my attacks. If you submit to me now, you might still have a chance to live. Don't make a mistake. Zhong Yang really admired Di Jotien. I swear not to lower my head. Di Jotien gritted his teeth and said. Then go to hell. Zhong Yang completely lost his patience. In the next moment, countless devil shadows attacked Di Jotien. Preposterous. Di Jotien naturally did not want to die. But now, whether he lived or died was no longer up to him. Just as Di Jotien was about to be killed by Zhong Yang, a beam of divine light shot out from the primal chaos immortal mansion. Then, it swept up Di Jotien and pulled him out from the countless devil shadows. Who is it? Come out and die. Zhong Yang was furious when he saw someone save Di Jotien. Hearing Zhong Yang's words, let alone Di Jotien, even Tong Yu's face changed. This fellow must be tired of living. He actually dared to ask his master to come out and die. You've got guts. Tong Yu gave Zhong Yang a thumbs up. Your courage is commendable. He actually dared to speak like that. What an amazing person. Some people who knew about Ji Yufei's background all admired Zhong Yang. That was Ji Yufei. Who dared to speak to Ji Yufei like that? If you don't come out, I'll kill my way in, Zhong Yang said loudly. At the same time, he actually set off monstrous devil flames and charged towards the entrance of the primal chaos immortal mansion. At this time, almost half of the people who were watching the battle instantly retreated. A battle of this level could be seen anywhere. It still attracted many experts to watch. However, they had to risk their lives to watch. Just as Zhong Yang was about to kill his way into the Primal Chaos Immortal Mansion, a huge hand directly slapped out from the entrance of the Primal Chaos Immortal Mansion. Bang! It was just a slap, but someone as powerful as Zhong Yang was actually sent flying. To be able to send a half-step Eternal Realm existence flying with a slap, only Ji Yu Fei in the Primal Chaos Immortal Mansion possessed such a cultivation base. How is this possible? Zhong Yang was sent flying with a slap. It was unknown how many bones in his body were broken. His whole body was terrifying, as if it was about to collapse. Eternal supremacy? Zhong Yang knew that he had kicked an iron plate today. You want to kill my people? Who do you think you are? A voice came from the Primal Chaos Immortal Mansion. What? When Zhong Yang heard this, he couldn't help but be shocked and angry. In front of an eternal supremacy, a half-step Eternal Realm existence was simply inferior to an ant. A slap could kill a large number of them. Swish. Zhong Yang didn't even think about it. He directly turned around and fled. I didn't tell you to scram. You actually dare to escape. Ji Yu Fei's voice came from the Primal Chaos Immortal Mansion again. At the same time, a huge hand directly grabbed out from the Primal Chaos Immortal Mansion and grabbed Zhong Yang. Too weak. Ji Yu Fei shook his head. Zhong Yang, who was caught by Ji Yu Fei's huge hand, immediately vomited blood in anger. Ji Yu Fei directly read Zhong Yang's memories without hesitation. Eternal Demon Sect. Ji Yu Fei frowned. He didn't expect this fellow to be an elder of the Eternal Demon Sect. The Eternal Demon Sect was countless times stronger than the eternal godly dynasty of the Eternal World. The Eternal Demon Sect ruled over 2 great continents. Humph. So what? I'll deal with soldiers when they come. So what if it's the Eternal Demon Sect? If they dare to come after me, I'll kill my way to their doorstep sooner or later. Chapter 4585. Bam! Ji Yu Fei tightened his grip on Zhong Yang's hand, causing the Eternal Devil Sect's elder to explode. A wisp of his primordial spirit flew out in an attempt to escape. Trying to escape. At this moment, a devouring power surged out from the Chaos Immortal Mansion world, directly pulling Zhong Yang's primordial spirit into the Chaos Immortal Mansion. This was the primordial spirit of an expert who was half a step into the Eternal Realm. This primordial spirit was an existence that was condensed from Zhong Yang's life force. How could Ji Yu Fei waste such a huge amount of life force? In the next moment, Zhong Yang's primordial spirit appeared above the 9 heavens and appeared in front of Ji Yu Fei. Eternal Lord, spare my life. Zhong Yang no longer had that domineering aura from before. He hurriedly begged for mercy. He did not want to die here just like that. Spare you? Ji Yu Fei laughed. So this guy was also a guy who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Eternal Lord, just treat me as a fart and let me go. Zhong Yang begged. At this moment, Di Jotian and Tong Yu also came to Ji Yu Fei's side. They were inexplicably shocked. They knew very well how powerful this great demon was. Moreover, this great demon had grasped the Eternal Technique. The power of the Eternal Devil Sect's Eternal Technique was unimaginable. Ji Yu Fei actually defeated this great demon so easily and even captured his primordial spirit. This kind of combat strength was simply too terrifying. When I searched your memories just now, there were countless living beings that died in your hands. You even destroyed many worlds. Do you think I will let such a ferocious great demon go? Ji Yu Fei's voice was incomparably calm. I'll fight you to the death. Zhong Yang knew that once an existence of this level had the intention to kill him, there would only be one outcome for him, and that was death. Boom! A violent destructive force erupted from Zhong Yang's primordial spirit. Countless devil patterns exploded on his primordial spirit, forming a fatal destructive force. Self-destruct? Tong Yu and Di Jotian were instantly shocked. With a su, Tong Yu immediately fled. This was the nascent soul of an existence at the half-step Eternal Realm. Once it exploded, even Tong Yu and Di Jotian, who were also at the half-step Eternal Realm, might not be able to withstand it. Di Jyotian did not escape, but his face was solemn. Just as Zongyang's soul was about to explode, a huge hand directly pressed down on it, forcefully suppressing the soul that was about to explode. Rumble, a thunderous sound rang out in the void. Zongyang's soul discovered in shock that the power of his soul that was about to erupt had actually been forcefully pushed back. This made him so gloomy that he almost vomited blood. Without my permission, you can't die even if you want to. Ji Yufei said indifferently. What exactly do you want? Zongyang was going all out. I'll eat you. After saying that, Ji Yufei opened his mouth and sucked, directly swallowing Zongyang's soul into his stomach. This, Tong Yu and Di Jyotian were dumbfounded. Was this the legendary killing at the slightest disagreement? At the same time, Ji Yufei triggered the grand formation of the Chaos Immortal Mansion world. The endless life force condensed by the grand formation also frantically gathered towards Ji Yufei. Master, this is. When Tong Yu saw this scene, his expression changed several times. His master was about to break through to the legendary realm. All of you retreat, I'm going into seclusion. Ji Yufei said to Tong Yu and Di Jyotian. Yes, master. Yes, master. Di Jyotian and Tong Yu immediately retreated. Soon, Ji Yufei turned into a divine cocoon. This was a kind of nirvana, but also a kind of rebirth. As long as Ji Yufei could succeed, he would be an eternal supreme. If he failed, he might even lose his life. Master is finally going to break through. Di Jyotian vaguely guessed something and couldn't help but be shocked. At this time, the trial in the Chaos Immortal Mansion world continued. At this time, all the experts in the Great World didn't know, and they were still fighting over the treasures in this world. Even though the outside world was extremely chaotic, Ji Yufei was already in seclusion. In reality, the people in control of the Chaos Immortal Mansion world were Di Jyotian and Tong Yu. At this time, in a region of the Chaos Immortal Mansion world, Qin Yarrow and the woman in white actually lost the old turtle, which made them extremely depressed. That guy. The woman in white was really angry. This was the purple lotus of enlightenment, which could help people understand the Tao. With the purple lotus of enlightenment, they could cultivate countless sages. But now, the purple lotus of enlightenment had been taken by the old turtle. Kill. The woman in white didn't hesitate and directly attacked Qin Yarrow, a pair of fists directly smashing towards Qin Yarrow. This was the martial divine fist. A terrifying fist force erupted, and the entire region collapsed. Countless mountains turned into dust, completely disappearing into the void. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Qin Yarrow extended her right hand and directly displayed the heavenly palm transformation, which met the mighty fist force head-on. Rumble, the two forces collided in an instant, causing an extremely shocking explosion. A circle of ripples that could be seen with the naked eye immediately spread out. Wherever the ripples passed, everything was mercilessly obliterated. This time, the spectators had learned their lesson. They didn't send their real bodies, only an incarnation or a clone to watch the battle. Even so, more than a dozen blurry figures were directly annihilated by the spreading circle of transparent ripples. Seeing this scene, the experts who had sent out their incarnations or clones secretly wiped away cold sweat. If their real bodies were present just now, they would have been destroyed in body and soul. The battle erupted, and the region was instantly destroyed. Countless living beings died. Just as Qin Yarrow and the woman in white were fighting, in the eternal world, in the eternal devil sect, a bell rang throughout the ancestral grounds of the eternal devil sect. Elder Zongyang is dead. A voice sounded, and there was a hint of panic in it. What? How is this possible? Zongyang is dead. Everyone in the ancestral grounds of the eternal devil sect found it hard to believe. Zongyang was a half-step eternal existence. Who in the lower realms could kill him? But the fact was that Zongyang's life plate was broken. Zongyang had really died in the lower realms. This was an indisputable fact. Send someone to see what's going on. An eternal demon ancestor spoke up. For a moment, all the noise in the eternal devil sect disappeared. Eternal Lord, I'll go. A person stepped forward. It was a woman in black with a mask over her face. She exuded a faintly discernible eternal aura. She was also a half-step eternal existence. "All right, you go." After the eternal level demon ancestor finished speaking, he no longer spoke. "With Elder Zhong Yu taking action, those people in the lower realms are going to suffer." Someone said something like that. Yes, something must have happened in the lower realms. Someone was very calm. Zhong Yang had died in the lower realms. It seemed that either he had a death wish, or an extraordinary existence had appeared in the lower realms and killed him. Chapter 4586. Half-step eternal existences were almost invincible in the primordial realm, and even the mortal realm and heaven realm. This kind of existence was enough to sweep through an entire realm. An eternal demon sect elder had died, and this elder had mastered the eternal law. Naturally, the eternal demon sect wouldn't let this go. At this time, Jiyu Fei was in seclusion. Although Tong Yu and Di Jotian were also half-step eternal existences, they hadn't mastered the eternal law. The eternal law was a trump card. It was used to deal with natives like Tong Yu and Di Jotian, and it would definitely be able to kill them without any suspense. After all, it was the eternal law. If it weren't for Jiyu Fei, even if Di Jotian and Tong Yu attacked together, they definitely wouldn't be a match for Zhong Yang, an eternal demon sect elder who had mastered the eternal law. But in front of Jiyu Fei, Zhong Yang couldn't withstand a single blow. This was the difference between a true eternal paragon and a half-step eternal expert. An eternal paragon could kill a half-step eternal expert with a single finger. Zhong Yang's death wasn't unjust. Although Jiyu Fei was in seclusion, the trial in the Primal Chaos Immortal Mansion was still going on. Experts from all over the world were competing for all kinds of good fortune. Boom. In the eastern region of the Primal Chaos Immortal Mansion, a mountain shrouded in demonic energy suddenly exploded, and a stone coffin rushed out. Monstrous demonic energy erupted from the stone coffin. The experts in the vicinity were all indescribably shocked. "What a powerful demonic energy," someone exclaimed. "This demonic energy has a strong death aura. Could it be that the demonic corpse in the stone coffin has changed?" Some people were a little uneasy. "Hihi, the appearance of the demonic corpse has really benefited us primitive demons." 8,000 miles away, on a mountain, a demonic figure completely shrouded in demonic energy suddenly lit up with two blood-red lights. Swish! The demonic figure directly soared into the sky and rushed toward the stone coffin. At the same time, the experts in the eastern region of the Primal Chaos Immortal Mansion also rushed in the direction of the stone coffin. Even Jiyu Ling was alarmed. The old turtle's figure also appeared near the stone coffin. There were also many powerful demonic shadows watching from the side. One had to know that not only did the ancestral realm have demons, but the human realm, heavenly realm, and even the grand beginning realm also had demons. This time, Jiyu Fei didn't refuse anyone who came to the Primal Chaos Immortal Mansion. As long as they were half-step into the eternal realm, they were qualified to enter the Primal Chaos Immortal Mansion. Quite a few cultivators of the Devil Dao had come to the trial by fire of the Primal Chaos Immortal Estate. However, in the end, the demons were the public enemy of the world. When the quasi-supremes of the demons entered the Primal Chaos Immortal Mansion world, they would naturally attract the attacks of countless experts. However, some of the more powerful demons ignored everything and went on a killing spree in the Chaos Immortal Mansion world. Swoosh! Very quickly, a demonic hand reached out to grab the stone coffin in the sky, wanting to take it away. Kill! Just at this moment, a furious roar suddenly came from the distant sky. A resplendent saber light chopped down from the sky, instantly chopping off the demonic hand that was grabbing at the stone coffin. The blood-colored saber light illuminated the entire world in the color of blood. A blood-haired demon appeared in the distant sky. "Crimson Morn, what do you want?" The demon who attacked first said coldly. "Heavenly Gloom, this thing isn't yours." The blood-haired demon said coldly. "Get lost." A figure with mighty demonic energy soared into the sky and directly pounced on the stone coffin in the sky. He directly opened his inner world and wanted to take away the stone coffin. The demon named Crimson Morn naturally wouldn't let him take away the stone coffin so easily. He directly urged his demonic saber to attack. Swoosh! The blood-colored saber light cut through the sky and directly slashed into the opponent's inner world. The demon named Heavenly Gloom hurriedly closed his inner world. However, through the entrance of the inner world, many people saw that countless mountains in Heavenly Gloom's inner world had collapsed, and a saber mark that looked like an abyss had appeared on the ground. The inner world opened by a quasi-supreme level demon should be extremely stable, but in front of an expert of the same level, it was very fragile. Kill. The two demons fought fiercely. At this moment, the stone coffin emitted endless demonic light, and every demonic light penetrated the void. The two demons exclaimed and immediately retreated. The demonic light also penetrated their demonic bodies, and the power of death in the demonic light was actually obliterating their vitality. Regardless of demonic path or other cultivators, the vitality in the body was the origin of life. Once the vitality was cut off, only death awaited them. The two demons, Heavenly Gloom and Crimson Morn, were not shocked because they were the closest to the stone coffin, and their bodies were penetrated by at least a dozen demonic lights. All at once they were weakened. Go to hell! At this moment, someone suddenly attacked. A black shadow suddenly appeared behind Heavenly Gloom, and with just a punch, he directly exploded Heavenly Gloom's demonic body. Heavenly Gloom's demonic body directly turned into a cloud of blood mist, and even his spirit couldn't escape and was directly shattered in the void. A quasi-supreme level demon was actually killed by a punch just like that. The strength of the newcomer shocked everyone inexplicably. Humph! Can't even withstand a single blow. That person was a young man in white, and his aura was earth-shattering. Especially the power of his punch just now, it was simply terrifying, as if it could shatter the sky. Martial divine fist again. In the distant sky, Qin Yao's pupils involuntarily shrank when she saw the punch of the young man in white. She was very familiar with this kind of incomparably overbearing fist technique, because she had experienced this martial divine fist before. If it wasn't for Ji Yu Fei imparting the eternal technique to her, she was afraid that she would have been killed by this martial divine fist. Without any suspense, Crimson Morn was also killed by the young man in white. Then, under everyone's extremely shocked gazes, the young man in white directly rushed towards the stone coffin and then blasted his fist on the stone coffin. The extremely strong fist force instantly erupted. Boom! With a loud bang, the stone coffin floating in the air directly exploded, and a figure with monstrous demonic chi rushed out of the stone coffin and fiercely pounced towards the young man in white. Just a small demonic corpse, and you dare to be so fierce. The young man in white clenched his 5 fingers and directly blasted towards the demonic corpse. The matchless fist force erupted, and the whole world was shaking. This kind of fist technique could be said to be invincible, and it was a supreme combat skill created by the evolution of martial arts to the extreme. One punch could break all kinds of divine powers, regardless of whether it was an eternal technique or not. Bang! The demonic corpse was directly blasted thousands of miles away by the punch of the young man in white, and a large part of its chest caved in, but it didn't directly explode. Heh! Chapter 4587. The birth of the corpse demon was earth-shattering, attracting the attention of countless experts. Even the disciples of the Wuji Immortal Sect had joined the fray. The Wuji Immortal Sect was not a force that the Eternal Divine Dynasty could compare to. The Martial Extreme Immortal Sect was a top-level force in Eternal World. The Martial Extreme Immortal Sect occupied a total of 7 to 8 great continents of Eternal World. Even if a random disciple from the Martial Extreme Immortal Sect were to wander about, not many would dare offend him. The Martial Extreme Immortal Sect was known as the #1 fighter in Eternal World. For a sect to proclaim itself as the #1 combat sect in Eternal World, that was enough to deter everyone. Boom! The disciple of the Martial Extreme Celestial Sect executed the Martial Extreme Divine Fist and actually blasted the corpse demon away. His battle prowess was so strong that it caused everyone to raise their eyebrows. The disciples of the Immortal Sect are indeed extraordinary. Seeing that, some of the experts from Eternal World could not stop themselves from exclaiming, "What a powerful demonic body!" Meng Ao, the disciple from the Martial Extreme Celestial Sect, was also surprised. His martial extreme divine fist was invincible. His fists were practically invincible among those of the same cultivation realm. Now, when his fist landed on the corpse devil's chest, it only caused the corpse devil's chest to collapse. And he was almost scratched by the sharp claws of this corpse demon. Meng Ao, can you do it? Ha ha. Someone laughed. Yu Wei, are you courting death? Meng Ao stared at the person who had spoken as a chilling killing intent erupted from his body. I want to die, but can you kill me? Yu Wei said contemptuously. Yu Wei came from another top force in Eternal World, the Immortal Sect. The Eternal Immortal Sect was the overlord of the Immortal Tao in Eternal World. Although the martial extreme Immortal Sect was very strong, the Eternal Immortal Sect was not weak either. Furthermore, countless years ago, the martial Zenith Immortal Sect and the Eternal Immortal Sect had both been part of the Immortal Martial Tao Sect. However, for some reason, internal strife had broken out in the Immortal Martial Tao Sect, and many people had died. In the end, the Immortal Martial Tao Sect was divided into two major powers, the Martial Zenith Immortal Sect and the Eternal Immortal Sect. Moreover, the two forces were constantly fighting against each other. When Meng Ao and Yu Wei met, they naturally opposed each other with equal harshness. Ji Yu Ling and the rest were naturally happy to watch the show from the side. Junior sister, Qin Yarrow came to Ji Yu Ling's side. Ji Yu Ling looked at Qin Yarrow with a smile that was not a smile. Where's my Uncle Gui? Qin Yarrow gnashed her teeth in anger when she heard Ji Yu Ling mention the old turtle. That bastard had actually stolen the Enlightenment Violet Lotus while she was fighting with the white-robed woman from the martial extreme Immortal Sect. He was simply too despicable. That despicable and shameless guy, don't let me see him, or else, Qin Yarrow wanted to continue. Haha, niece, why are you? At this moment, a loud laugh rang out. The old tortoise walked towards Gulling. Aya, I still have something to do. I'll be leaving first. When old tortoise saw Qin Yarrow, he was shocked. He turned around and was about to run away. Hehe, senior sister, now that you've seen my Uncle Turtle, what do you want? Ji Yu Ling was overjoyed. You old turtle, stop right there. Qin Yarrow roared and chased after old tortoise. Old tortoise, if I stop just because you tell me to, wouldn't I lose face? Old tortoise quickened its pace when it heard Qin Yarrow's roar. You despicable and shameless bastard, see if I don't beat you to death. Qin Yarrow was fuming. However, old tortoise was quite good at escaping. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to escape from Qin Yarrow and the white-robed woman's joint pursuit. Old tortoise and Qin Yarrow disappeared into the horizon one after another. Achem. Ji Yu Ling noticed that the martial extreme Immortal Sect disciple who was fighting the corpse demon was in trouble. That disciple was very strong, and his martial extreme divine fist was an eternal realm battle technique. However, the corpse demon couldn't be killed. To be more precise, the corpse demon was dead and had fallen for countless years. Dead things naturally couldn't be killed. The martial extreme Immortal Sect disciple couldn't kill the corpse demon, and instead, he was tainted by the death chi. Roar. Meng Ao of the martial extreme Immortal Sect roared and punched the corpse demon again. At the same time, he shook off the death chi on his body. Meng Ao, scram if you can't do it. Let me do it. The Eternal Immortal Sect disciple named Yu Wei said disdainfully. Meng Ao was furious. His face turned red as he roared, Yu Wei, if you say another word, I'll teach you a lesson. TSK, so what if I say it? Yu Wei said and raised his middle finger at Meng Ao. Universe severance. Meng Ao didn't waste any more words. He used his other trump card. His fists actually split into yin and yang. The two energies seemed to have turned into a yin-yang millstone and rushed towards the corpse demon to destroy it. This time, under the suppression of the yin-yang millstone, the corpse demon actually collapsed in the void and was forcefully grinded into pieces. Yu Wei, die. Meng Ao turned and charged at Yu Wei. You think I'm afraid of you? Yu Wei sneered and formed a seal with both hands. In the next moment, a huge bolt of purple lightning shot down from the sky towards Meng Ao. Roar. Meng Ao simply punched towards the sky, and those lightning bolts with a terrifying aura were directly dispersed in the void. Eat my fists. Without any hesitation, Meng Ao struck out with his martial divine fist. The moment the fist was unleashed, the entire world shook, as though it could destroy the heavens and earth. Heaven sealing imprint art. Yu Wei didn't dare to be careless and immediately used his trump card. He formed a seal with both hands and struck forward. A power that could seal the heavens erupted from his hands. It was as if the entire world and the void had frozen. Boom! Meng Ao's fist collided with Yu Wei's imprint. In the next moment, the two forces collided, and a terrifying energy wave burst out. This wave of energy spread out, causing pitch-black spatial cracks to appear one after another in the void. Eternal law. Seeing this, Ji Ling's eyes lit up. Her father, Ji Fei, had also created an eternal law. She was very strong, and wanted to fight with these guys. She wanted to see if her father's eternal law was stronger, or these guys' eternal laws were stronger. Who was her father? The eternal law he created was definitely not inferior to any other eternal law. In the end, they still ended up fighting. Many of the experts from Eternal World stared anxiously at the two experts fighting. The conflict between the martial extreme immortal sect and the eternal immortal sect was no secret in Eternal World's world of cultivation. The two forces had been fighting for a long time. If the disciples and successors of these two forces were to meet, a great battle would surely break out. Meng Ao versus Yu Wei. This was definitely going to be a spectacular battle. No one wanted to miss it. More and more experts gathered there. Chapter 4588. The fact that there was another world beneath the eastern region of the Primal Chaos Immortal Mansion shocked everyone. That's Tong Yu, who was overseeing the Primal Chaos Immortal Mansion in place of Ji Fei, couldn't help but frown. His eyes flashed with a cold light. Do you know what it is? Di Jotian sat cross-legged in the sky, his blood-stained spear resting on his knees. With every breath he took, he absorbed vast amounts of worldly essence. Countless Tao patterns flickered in and out of the void around him as he inhaled and exhaled. An obscure eternal aura emanated from Di Jotian's body. This was a sign that Di Jotian's cultivation had broken through to the half-step eternal realm. Tong Yu glanced at this fellow who was like an ant in his eyes not too long ago, and then he said, "This was originally my world, my world. I know what it is." Di Jotian didn't even look at Tong Yu. He didn't say anything else. Meanwhile, in the eastern region of the Primal Chaos Immortal Mansion, the entire sky was shrouded by the devil chi surging out of the ground. Countless experts were watching, but no one knew what was inside. Haha, since none of you dare go down, I'll go first. Right at this moment, a roar of laughter resounded, and then a figure charged over from afar. He actually plunged headfirst into the ground and vanished into the entrance. Who's that? Everyone was bewildered. Roar. The man's angry roar came from underground. He seemed to have run into some trouble. Meng Ao from the martial extreme immortal sect sneered and charged into the ground as well. Where do you think you're going? The remaining experts from the eternal immortal sect chased after him and disappeared into the entrance. Rumble. In the next moment, the entire ground shook, and the ground opened up. Countless ancient buildings appeared before everyone's eyes. Under the ground, there was a huge city. Outside the city, there were bones everywhere. Some belonged to humans, and some belonged to the outsiders. Countless corpses floated in the moat. A city of death. Everyone who witnessed this scene was indescribably shocked. The ghost town was very big and it was shrouded in black demonic chi. The scenery inside the ghost town was very blurry. Some people directly opened their heavenly eyes, wanting to see into the ghost town. However, that guy with the heavenly eye only opened it to take a look at the ghost town before he let out a miserable shriek and didn't dare to look again. At this time, the most shocking thing was that Yu Wei and the others who had just entered the ghost town seemed to have disappeared. No one could sense their auras. Even Ji Ling could not sense it. The endless aura of death contained within the ghost city was definitely comparable to a peerless divine medicine to some of the evil sects. Inside the ghost city, there were also treasures flickering. Some people seemed to have seen a divine medicine in human form appearing and disappearing in the city. Immortal godly medicine? The experts who were still hesitating were instantly energized. One after another, powerful figures rushed out, rushing towards the underground ghost town. An undying divine medicine was something that even an extreme Tao supremacy would covet. Just as everyone was rushing towards the ghost city, Yu Wei and Meng Ao, who had just rushed into the ghost city, suddenly rushed out. Their bodies were stained with blood and they were in an extremely sorry state. Boom. At the same time, a huge pillar of light rushed out from the ghost town. Golden radiance lingered around it, and the resplendent radiance was incomparably divine. It emitted a mountain-like pressure. Everyone was stupefied when they saw this scene. In a split second, heaven and earth shook. A torrential energy fluctuation exploded out from the ghost town. Those experts who were rushing towards the ghost town were all sent flying as cries of alarm resounded. What? Jiu Ling was incomparably shocked. Boom. Another loud sound rang out from the ghost town. The entire heaven and earth trembled. Countless cultivators felt as though they were standing on a huge wave that was undulating up and down. They were shaken to the point that they were on the verge of collapse. Huge cracks even appeared in the surrounding space, as though it could collapse at any time. Boom. The loud sound rang out again. It was as though there was a prehistoric giant beast suppressed within the ghost town. This prehistoric giant beast that was awakened was currently attacking the seal, wanting to rush out from the ghost town. As expected, up in the sky, Tong Yu's expression became very unsightly. At this moment, the walls of the ghost town were covered in spiderweb-like cracks, as though it could collapse at any time. Just when the loud sound rang out again, a faint layer of treasure radiance suddenly surged out from the entire ghost town. The originally violently trembling enormous ghost town actually gradually stabilized. The numerous huge cracks in the surrounding space instantly returned to their original state under the envelopment of the treasure radiance. The unimaginably violent energy that erupted from the ghost town was actually suppressed. You still want to overturn the heavens? Up in the sky, Tong Yu sneered. F***CK. What's going on? Quickly flee. Is it the birth of an extreme Tao artifact? Outside the ghost town, shouts and cries of alarm rang out, and everyone was thrown into disorder. Boom. 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 The sounds of collision became more and more urgent and ferocious. But under the envelopment of the incomparably pure and holy radiance, the ghost town did not crumble from the boundless energy underground. Just when everyone thought that the ghost town's restrictive technique would be able to suppress the existence within the ghost town, the sound of something breaking suddenly resounded out from within the ghost town. In the next moment, a dazzling radiance flashed for an instant. Buzz. Immediately after, a soft hum resounded. The sound was like the cry of a phoenix from the 9 heavens. Suddenly, a ball of devil light shot out from within the ghost town. That ball of devil light directly broke the ghost town's restrictive technique. Then, that ball of devil light suddenly erupted with countless devil blades that shot out in all directions, slashing towards countless cultivators. What? Up in the sky, Tong Yu, who was originally calm and unperturbed, suddenly stood up. He found it hard to believe that that thing could actually break his seal. How was this possible? At this time, many extremely powerful figures appeared outside the ghost town. One of them emitted boundless golden divine light, and within the divine light, a woman could be faintly seen. The golden goddess had arrived. Pitilessly powerful golden energy erupted from her body, shaking heaven and earth. Her cultivation had already reached the limit of a quasi-supreme. She only needed one more step and she would become an extreme Tao supremacy. However, she also had the shackles of her bloodline. If she could not break through the shackles of her bloodline, no matter how heaven-defying her talent was, no matter how hard she worked, it would be impossible for her to become an extreme Tao supremacy. She wanted to come to the primal chaos immortal mansion world to try her luck. However, just as she arrived, she encountered the scene of the birth of a peerless demon. Chapter 4589. Ji Yufei went into seclusion to attack the Eternal Realm, allowing Tong Yu to regain control of the primal chaos immortal mansion world. Although Tong Yu had regained control of the primal chaos immortal mansion world, he didn't dare to have any improper thoughts, because Ji Yu Fei had placed a restrictive spell on his body. His life or death was in the hands of Ji Yu Fei. And at this time, in the eastern region of the primal chaos immortal mansion world, an unexpected change occurred. A fiendish demon that had been sealed underground in the City of Death had unexpectedly escaped. This fellow actually endured for so long and still hasn't died. Tong Yu was truly surprised, because he had personally sealed this fiendish demon into the City of Death countless years ago. He had originally thought that this fiendish demon was completely dead, but who would have thought that it would jump out again? Truly a centipede that dies but never falls down. Tong Yu shook his head somewhat helplessly. In the end, he had still been too careless. Roar. At this time, in the eastern region of the primal chaos immortal mansion world, a demonic howl shook the 9 heavens. A peerless fiendish demon had descended into the mortal world, and the countless living beings in the primal chaos immortal mansion world were all terrified to the extreme. His body has primordial chaos origin energy. If any of you have the ability, go and hunt him down. A voice came down from the 9 heavens, spreading throughout the primal chaos immortal mansion world. What? Everyone was shocked to the extreme. Primordial chaos origin energy? How is this possible? Millions of miles away, the fleeing old tortoise suddenly stopped. Despicable and shameless old tortoise, aren't you going to escape? A figure rapidly approached from behind the old tortoise. This person's purple robes fluttered in the wind, and her beautiful hair fluttered in the wind. Who else could it be but Qin Yarrow? I already said that I'm not a tortoise. If you call me a tortoise again, be careful that I really get angry. The old tortoise fiercely turned to stare at Qin Yarrow. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Qin Yarrow sneered. When she had fought with the white-robed woman, Ji Yu Fei had taught her the heavenly transformation hand. This was an eternal battle technique, and with it in hand, she was full of confidence and didn't fear anyone. Of course, she didn't dare to cause trouble for Gulling. Gulling was Ji Yu Fei's only daughter. There was absolutely no doubt that Ji Yu Fei had taught her the eternal law. Who would dare to provoke an ancient spirit who had grasped the eternal law? Alright, isn't it just a purple lotus of enlightenment? So what if I give it to you? As he spoke, He Tian took out the jade box that sealed the purple lotus of enlightenment and tossed it to Qin Yarrow. Qin Yarrow caught the box and said proudly, "At least you are sensible. Otherwise, I'll let you have a taste of my heaven-transforming hand." The corner of old tortoise's mouth twitched. Ji Yu Fei actually passed the heavenly transformation palm to you and not to me. He and Ji Yu Fei were brothers who had gone through trials and tribulations together. He knew that if he asked Ji Yu Fei to pass the heavenly hand to him, Ji Yu Fei would definitely agree. However, he couldn't bring himself to say it. He was the descendant of the Grand Emperor, so how could he covet the techniques of others? Moreover, that person was his brother, and Ji Yu Fei had already imparted the 9 secrets of immortal Tao to him. He was even more embarrassed to speak. Old Tortoise suddenly smiled and said to Qin Yarrow, "I'm going to hunt demons." "Are you coming?" "Of course I'm going. The chaotic primordial origin is good stuff," Qin Yarrow blurted out without hesitation. Old Tortoise suddenly rolled his eyes. "Hehe, why don't we join forces?" "Join forces?" Qin Yarrow couldn't help but be moved in her heart when she heard this. Even though this old turtle is slightly despicable and shameless, I have to admit that this fellow really has great ability. Especially his ability to flee. It's probably only He Tian amongst those of the same cultivation realm that can compare to him. However, this guy was extremely cunning. If he stabbed her in the back at a crucial moment, she would be in big trouble. Old Tortoise saw Qin Yarrow's thoughtful expression and said, "If you're not willing, then forget it. I'll find someone else." He was about to leave after saying that. He would first contact He Tian, the Ziyun siblings, and the Golden Goddess. It was time to contact that monkey too. Who said I'm not willing? Qin Yarrow frowned and looked coldly at the old tortoise. She had the eternal battle skill, heavenly transformation hand, and was not afraid of this damned old tortoise at all. If this old tortoise dared to play tricks in front of her, Alright, then what are we waiting for? Old Tortoise directly soared into the sky and rushed in the direction of the peerless fiendish demon. The chaotic primordial origin was even rarer than the primordial origin violet aura. With the chaotic primordial origin, one might be able to break through the bloodline shackles and become an extreme supremacy. Of course, the fortune divine fruit that Jiu Fei obtained could also change his fate and break through the bloodline shackles to become a supremacy. Jiu Ling also had bloodline shackles. Why are you running so fast? Qin Yarrow also hurriedly soared into the sky and chased after the old tortoise. At this time, the eastern region of the Chaos Immortal Mansion world had completely fallen into chaos. Jiu Ling, the white-robed woman, the golden goddess, the golden spiritual ape Yuan Hong, and other experts all attacked. Everyone seemed to be on steroids as they attacked the peerless fiendish demon. Scram! The fiendish demon roared angrily and waved his right hand. The experts attacking him were all sent flying, coughing up blood. Those with weaker cultivations were directly shattered into a mist of blood. Even Jiu Ling had no choice but to retreat. Roar! The golden spiritual ape Yuan Hong was ferocious to the extreme. He actually leaped into the air and smashed his staff towards the demon's head. Swish! Yuan Hong broke through the layers of demonic energy, and the black staff in his hand instantly smashed above the peerless fiendish demon's head. However, the peerless fiendish demon only stretched out its hand and grabbed Yuan Hong's black staff. What? Yuan Hong was truly shocked. The other party could actually grab his staff with his bare hands. Didn't that mean that this guy's cultivation was far above his? Before he could finish his thought, a fist had already smashed into his chest. Without any suspense, Yuan Hong was directly sent flying by the peerless fiendish demon. Martial Extreme Divine Fist. The disciples of the Martial Extreme Immortal sect from the Eternal World attacked. Rumble, a boundlessly domineering fist force erupted, shaking heaven and earth. As soon as the Martial Extreme Divine Fist was unleashed, even the peerless fiendish demon was caught off guard and was actually forced to retreat. Endless demonic energy was scattered by the fist force. Everyone who saw this scene was extremely shocked. The eternal combat technique is an eternal combat technique after all, someone exclaimed. This time, many people from the eternal world had also come. Many of the divine sons and goddesses from the top forces had also come. These people were all shocking experts. Once these people attacked, they would definitely be able to sweep away everything in their path. However, these people still watched and had no intention of making a move. It was just a little fiendish demon. They would let the guys from the Martial Extreme Immortal sect play with him. The real top existences were still watching from the sidelines. Chapter 4590. The appearance of a ferocious demon suppressed everything. Almost no one was a match for this great demon. Especially Yuan Hong, the golden spirit ape. He was sent flying by this demon's punch and suffered serious injuries. Even Jiu Ling didn't want to fight this demon to the death. She retreated to the side. At this time, the two disciples of the Martial Extreme Immortal sect from the Eternal World made their move. The Martial Extreme Divine Fist actually caught the peerless demon off guard and forced him to retreat. Martial Extreme Divine Fist is indeed worthy of being the supreme battle skill of the Martial Extreme Immortal sect. Some experts from the Eternal World exclaimed. The Martial Extreme Immortal sect was known as the #1 sect in the Eternal World for battle. The Martial Extreme Divine Fist was the sect's ultimate battle skill. Only the true disciples were qualified to cultivate it. Buzz. Meng Ao punched out. The invincible fist intent erupted and dispersed the monstrous demonic energy. That fiendish devil couldn't help but be shocked. He was like a devil shadow, constantly changing his position in the void, leaving behind a series of afterimages. 10,000 vanishing forms. Up in the sky, Tong Yu's pupils shrank when he saw this scene. Was this demon really the sect master of the demonic sect, demonic Dao Xie? Countless years ago, Tong Yu had fought against demonic Dao Xie. In the end, Tong Yu won and sealed demonic Dao Xie in the ghost town and buried him underground. However, no one expected that this evil demonic path actually didn't die, enduring for so long. However, even if he didn't die, he would die in the end. With his current half-step eternal cultivation and battle strength, demonic Dao Xie was just an ant in his eyes. Demonic Dao Xie was a peerless demon lord in the past. He was so powerful that he almost became the master of this immortal mansion world. Despicable and shameless guy, this time, I will give you a big surprise. Demonic Dao Xie revealed a sinister smile. He looked like a young man with white hair and blood-red eyes. His face was as pale as paper, without a trace of blood. He wore black clothes and had a handsome appearance. Coupled with a trace of evil aura and vicissitudes, he was definitely a ladykiller. He was extremely attractive to those love-struck girls. But now, not only was this devil Dao extremely attractive to women, even men would be envious when they saw him. This was because he actually possessed primordial chaos source energy. This was a top-notch divine item in the world. Even an extreme Dao sovereign would be envious of it and want to obtain it, let alone a group of quasi-sovereigns participating in the primal chaos immortal mansion world trial. Whoever obtained the origin source of primordial chaos would have a higher chance of attaining the extreme Dao. Who didn't want to take the ultimate leap and become an extreme Dao supremacy? Kill. Meng Ao was determined to get his hands on the primordial chaos source of evil Dao. His fists shook heaven and earth, as if the great Dao of heaven was being pressed down by his fists. The divine martial fist was a supreme battle skill with extreme power. Furthermore, as Meng Ao's cultivation continued to rise, the power of this battle skill would continue to increase as well. If Meng Ao's cultivation had broken through to the extreme Dao realm, he would be invincible among those in the same cultivation realm with the martial extreme divine fist. Senior brother, hold on, the white-robed woman transmitted to Meng Ao. Although this senior brother of hers had a good cultivation base and combat power, he was impulsive and impatient. He would offend others at the slightest disagreement. With such a character, it was easy for others to plot against him. Junior sister Leng, if we join forces, we will definitely be able to take down this demon. Meng Ao was very excited. Once he obtained the primordial chaos source of evil Dao, he would have a 50% chance of making the ultimate leap and attaining the extreme Dao fruit. The martial extreme immortal sect's foundation was extremely deep. There was naturally a method to break through to the extreme Dao realm. The martial extreme immortal sect had a supreme existence at the eternal Dao realm. Senior brother, we must not be careless. The white-robed woman transmitted to Meng Ao as she attacked. If the two heir disciples of the martial extreme immortal sect joined forces, they would be able to put up a fight even against the divine sons and saintesses of the top forces in the eternal world. Although Meng Ao and the white-robed woman were heir disciples of the martial extreme immortal sect, they were not the divine sons and saintesses of the sect. The divine sons of the martial extreme immortal sect were someone else. Chapter 4591. In the eyes of countless people, Eternal World was an enigmatic and unfathomable world. If it weren't for the people of Eternal World, no one would have known that there was such a transcendent world above Primal World. By then, many of them had gained a basic understanding of Eternal World. Eternal World was a vast and boundless place. Even a single continent was far bigger than a world in a lesser world. Even an extreme supremacy would find it difficult to determine just how big Eternal World was. It was a vast land with abundant resources. Naturally, the number of cultivation resources in Eternal World was countless times higher compared to any other world. That was also why Eternal World had given birth to so many experts. There was even a good number of peerless eternal existences. This time, Eternal Godly Dynasty had found a passageway to a lesser world. Naturally, it had attracted the attention of the other top forces of Eternal World. Eternal Godly Dynasty could not keep this a secret. After all, the top forces had eyes all over the world. The immortal continent's Eternal Godly Dynasty was naturally incapable of fighting against the top forces of Eternal World. All it could do was to obediently open the passageway and let the successors of the other top forces enter and leave. As such, the trial that Ji Yufei organized for the Chaos Immortal Mansion world had become a competition between the experts from the Celestial Plane, Human Plane, Primal Plane and the experts from Eternal World. Even so, even if the experts from the four worlds were to join forces, they would still be no match for these ferocious dragons from Eternal World. Tong Yu and Di Jotian stood high up in the sky, coldly observing the battle in the east. Your enemy. Di Jotian gave Tong Yu a glance. Humph. Tong Yu laughed coldly and didn't say anything. This devil Dao Xie had been sealed by him for countless years, yet he actually didn't die. This caused him to be extremely surprised. But when he thought about how this devil Dao Xie had once obtained the primordial chaos source energy, it wasn't difficult to explain. In the battle back then, he had only managed to win a Pyrrhic victory. He no longer had the ability to extract primordial chaos essence from heretic demon. All he could do was seal him in Death City. Too much time had passed and Tong Yu had nearly forgotten about heretic demon. Unexpectedly, heretic demon would jump out again. Di Jotian did not say anything. That demonic cultivator, Xie, was very strong. However, he seemed to be deliberately suppressing his cultivation base and not going all out. On the surface, it looked like he was being beaten back by the two powerhouses of the martial extreme immortal sect. However, in reality, he was still fighting with ease. Junior sister, you can't hide it anymore. Meng Ao attacked for a long time without being able to take it down. He was a little anxious. This demon was so strong that it gave him a headache. He and his junior sister worked together, but they were actually unable to take down this demon. When did the beings of the lower realm become so powerful? The cultivators of Eternal World were all exalted existences. They viewed the creatures of the lower planes as ants. This time, however, they were all dumbfounded. Not only had the eternal primogenitor, who had led an army of 100,000 to the lower realm, been stopped, but even the two great disciples of the martial extreme immortal sect were unable to take down a demon from the lower realm. Earlier, there was someone who was locked in a stalemate with martial extreme immortal sect's Lung Chuyue. An existence capable of fighting against the heir disciples of a top force from Eternal World had actually appeared in the lower worlds. Seeing that shocked everyone from Eternal World. Naturally, the true powerhouses from Eternal World had yet to take action. Senior brother, are you going to use your trump card? Lung Chuyue was very shocked. Even though they were secretly communicating with each other, their attacks did not stop. The two of them were using the divine martial fist technique. The power unleashed by one of them was already frighteningly great. Now that the two of them were working together, the power behind their attacks multiplied. However, the demonic path was like a fish, extremely slippery. Although Meng Ao and Lung Chuyue had joined hands and their fist energies were like raging waves that shook the heavens and the earth, they were like a small fish in the raging waves. Although it seemed dangerous, in reality, it was more daunting than dangerous. Kill! Kill! Meng Ao and Lung Chuyue roared at the same time. Next, a terrifying wave of power burst out from their bodies. Next, the space they were in disappeared. In the eyes of the onlookers, the three experts who were in the middle of a battle had suddenly disappeared. What happened? Seeing that, Jiyu Ling's heart gave a thump. There was no way the three of them would disappear for no reason. Could it be an inner world? Martial extreme transformation? The sovereign grand sun, whose whole body radiated with dazzling light, suddenly exclaimed. Martial extreme immortal sect's peerless secret technique, martial extreme transformation? The divine sons and saintesses from the top forces of Eternal World were shocked. Martial extreme transformation was the peerless secret technique of martial extreme immortal sect. It was only natural that the divine sons and saintesses from the top forces of Eternal World knew about this peerless secret technique of martial extreme immortal sect. It was a secret technique that could open up a different void. Within the martial extreme void, the one who opened up the void would become the master of that particular void. Martial extreme transformation? The conversation between the divine sons and saintesses from Eternal World naturally fell into Jiyu Ling's ears. When one reached the pinnacle of martial cultivation, opening up a void was as easy as flipping one's hand. In Jiyu Ling's opinion, a quasi-supreme existence could open up a world with just a thought. What was the big deal about that? However, she also knew that this martial extreme transformation was no ordinary technique. It was not the usual kind of opening up a world. Otherwise, This secret technique would not have become the peerless secret technique of martial extreme immortal sect. At that very moment, Heretic, who was trapped within the martial extreme void, encountered a great danger. Ha ha ha. Demon, to die to our martial extreme transformation, your death is worth it. Meng Ao laughed loudly before unleashing a punch at Heretic. Boom. It was still the martial extreme divine fist. However, its power had been amplified countless times. With just one punch, Heretic was sent flying. Here, we are the heavens. We are the masters. You are a dead man. Meng Ao was incomparably arrogant as he strode towards Heretic. At the same time, he unleashed another punch at Heretic. A formidable fist blast surged towards Heretic like a surging heavenly river. The fist crushed the world and shook the cosmos, seemingly capable of destroying the world. At the same time that Meng Ao attacked, Lung Chuyue attacked as well. Lung Chuyue's fist blast was amplified countless times. It was as though a martial god of extreme Tao was attacking, capable of breaking the heavens with a single punch. The might of this martial extreme transformation was truly terrifying. Those who were trapped within the martial extreme void would definitely not be a match for the master of this void. The martial extreme transformation was worthy of being the secret technique of martial extreme immortal sect. Those who were trapped within the martial extreme void would definitely not be a match for the master of the martial extreme void, even if their cultivation base was much higher than the one who unleashed the martial extreme void. Roar. Heretic roared furiously as a ball of demonic light emerged from his body. In the next moment, a demonic armor appeared on his body. Chapter 4592. The extreme martial void created by the extreme martial transformation was not to be underestimated. It could trap opponents with a higher cultivation base than the user and increase the user's combat power to the maximum. Even the gods and saintesses of the top forces in Eternal World wouldn't dare to say that they could break the extreme martial transformation that Meng Ao and Lung Chuyue displayed together. Once one was trapped in the martial extreme void, there was only one outcome, and that was death. At this moment, within the extreme martial void, Meng Ao and Lung Chuyue punched demonic Dao Xie at the same time. Roar. Demonic Dao Xie roared. In the next moment, the demonic armor on his body shattered and his entire demonic body turned into a mist of blood. The living beings of the lower realm don't know the eternal technique. So what if their cultivation base is high and their combat power is strong? Aren't they still going to die? Meng Ao said proudly. Lung Chuyue didn't say anything. She knew her senior brother's character all too well. He was impatient, not calm enough when faced with things, and easily impulsive. Meng Ao was a little arrogant. Kill. At this moment, the demonic blood instantly condensed into a demonic shadow. In the next moment, Meng Ao and Lung Chuyue were punched by the demonic shadow. Meng Ao and Lung Chuyue screamed as they were sent flying. How is this possible? Meng Ao and Lung Chuyue were shocked to the extreme. In the extreme martial void, being hit by the extreme martial divine fist would definitely result in death. Demonic Dao Xie took 2 punches at the same time. How could he reassemble his demonic body? Even the gods and saintesses would be destroyed if they were hit by 2 punches in the extreme martial void. Why was this demonic Dao Xie fine? Meng Ao and Lung Chuyue were dumbfounded. You think you can kill me just like that? You guys are underestimating me. Demonic Dao Xie's body was filled with demonic energy. His blood-colored eyes shone with a strange bloodlight. This, Meng Ao and Lung Chuyue exchanged glances and found it unbelievable. They were in the extreme martial void that they created together. Here, they were the rulers. The power of these 2 fists from the evil Dao was not small. Meng Ao's mouth was bleeding. Although Lung Chuyue did not vomit blood, her face was as pale as paper. I don't believe I can't kill you. Meng Ao was truly enraged right now. The extreme martial transformation was a supreme secret skill of the martial extreme immortal sect. The extreme martial void could raise his battle prowess by several fold. Rumble, Meng Ao merely struck out a punch, but the entire void shook. It's that martial divine fist again? Demonic path evil sneered. He had cultivated the heavenly demon undying body. No matter how tyrannical and invincible you are, no matter how unrivaled your supernatural powers are, you still won't be able to do anything to me. Meng Ao punched out. Without any suspense, he directly blew up the undying demon body of diabolism. However, very quickly, the evil path of demonic Tao reformed its demonic body again. It was as if it was truly immortal and indestructible. This caused Meng Ao and Leng Chueyue, the two martial siblings, to be moved. This cultivation technique, Meng Ao's eyes widened. This cultivation technique could actually block the martial extreme divine fist. It was truly amazing. One must know that the martial extreme divine fist was an eternal level battle technique. There was no doubt that an eternal combat skill could crush an extreme combat skill. You have to capture him, junior sister. I want him alive, Meng Ao said excitedly. If he could get demonic Tao's cultivation technique, wouldn't he be able to crush the remnants of the eternal immortal sect? He and Yu Wei were sworn enemies, and he wished for nothing more than to beat the crap out of Yu Wei one day. However, Yu Wei's cultivation and battle prowess were on par with his, so it was impossible for him to completely crush Yu Wei. How could Leng Chueyue not guess what Meng Ao was thinking? Apparently, this elder brother of hers had taken a liking to demonic Tao's cultivation technique. He wanted everything, but didn't have the ability to take it. Leng Chueyue had no other choice. It wouldn't be easy to take down this monster, and it seemed she would have to pay a price. You two brats. When I was dominating the world, who knows where your ancestors were playing in the mud? Heretic, who had reconstructed his demonic body, stared coldly at the two heir disciples of the martial extreme immortal sect. You're courting death, Meng Ao said angrily. Demonic Tao evil sneered. Are you an idiot? Do you really think you'll let me go if I say something nice? Raw. Meng Ao was on the verge of going berserk. No one had ever dared to call him an idiot. Back then, he was someone who was qualified to compete against Wu Jizi for the position of Divine Son. Back then, the Divine Son selection of the martial extreme immortal sect had shaken the world. That was because the martial extreme immortal sect had produced quite a number of rising stars. That was especially true of Wu Jizi, who had cultivated for less than 1,000 years to reach the peak of the quasi-supreme stage. Someone who could cultivate for less than 1,000 years to reach the extreme Tao fruit was an existence that could not be found in the entire eternal world for hundreds of thousands of years. Wu Jizi had cultivated for less than 1,000 years to reach the peak of the quasi-supreme stage. His cultivation base could break through to the extreme Tao stage at any moment. Such talent and accomplishments were enough to shock the world. For Meng Ao, Wu Jizi was an insurmountable mountain. However, even if he was a mountain, Meng Ao wanted to give it a try. This undying cultivation technique of this demon was in no way inferior to the eternal technique. Senior brother, I'm going to attack. Leng Chueyue sent a voice transmission to Meng Ao. All right. Meng Ao's eyes lit up and the corners of his lips curled into a sneer. Die, you two. At this moment, demonic Tao Xie attacked. Endless demonic energy surged towards Meng Ao and Leng Chueyue. The demonic energy formed one demonic dragon after another, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. However, in the next moment, everything within the extreme martial void suddenly came to a standstill. That's right, it came to a standstill. Even demonic Tao Xie could not move at all. The 9 demonic dragons formed from demonic energy also stopped in the void. It was as though even the air had come to a standstill. Imprisonment. This was an absolute imprisonment. In the extreme martial void, even time had been frozen. In the entire extreme martial void, only Meng Ao and Leng Chueyue could move. Barf. Leng Chueyue's face suddenly turned red and she coughed out a mouthful of blood. The backlash of the absolute confinement technique was no small matter. Junior sister, Meng Ao was shocked to see his junior sister coughing out blood. It's fine. Senior brother, hurry up and do it. Leng Chueyue said anxiously. All right. Haha, this demon is dead for sure this time. Meng Ao charged towards demonic Tao Xie. As Meng Ao was attacking the heretic Tao cultivators, a great battle erupted outside Void Apex Marshal. Sovereign Grand Son, who came from Eternal World, single-handedly challenged the successors of the ancient desolate Zhu family, Zhao family, and Li family, the three great ancient desolate forces. Be it Zhu family's little heavenly lord, Zhao family's goddess, or Li family's divinity, all of them were crushed by sovereign Great Sunday. Even after joining forces, they could not even defeat one of sovereign Great Sun's hands. The combat power displayed by sovereign Great Sun caused the experts from the four great worlds to feel despair. Is this the true combat power of the top successors of Eternal World? Chapter 4593. Sovereign Sun was a member of the Golden Crow clan of Eternal World. Eternal World was home to tens of thousands of clans. Races from the primogenitor realm, and even other worlds had their origins in Eternal World. Even in the human realm and celestial realm, the Golden Crow clan existed. Of course, the Golden Crow clan of Eternal World was much stronger than the Golden Crow clan of any other world. Even in Eternal World, this clan was a top-notch clan. Sovereign Sun's attack instantly crushed the experts of the four worlds. He was invincible. A bunch of trash. Is there really no one in this lower realm who can take 3 moves from me? Sovereign Sun's power was at its peak. Hey, Sovereign Sun, why do you need to be so serious with these ants? Any random follower would be able to kill these ants until they piss their pants in terror. A white-robed young man shrouded in immortal energy said with a smile. Beigongyu, cut the crap. If you don't attack now, the primordial chaos source will fall into someone else's hands. Sovereign Sun said coldly. I am about to attack. As Beigongyu spoke, he waved his right hand and a beam of sword light rushed out of his hand, directly splitting the void between heaven and earth. 3 figures fell out of the void. A sword to cut through the void? Someone exclaimed. The Beigong clan was a top-notch clan in Eternal World. It was in no way inferior to the martial extreme immortal sect. The sword Dao of the Beigong clan was one of the best in Eternal World. Beigong Yu's seemingly casual attack contained the Void Sword Dao. This Void Sword Dao was the nemesis of the martial extreme variation of the martial extreme immortal sect. Who is it? Who dares to ruin my plans? Meng Ao was so angry that he almost coughed out blood. Damn it. I was about to kill this demon, but someone actually broke my martial extreme variation at this moment. That was the absolute imprisonment that Junior Sister had used up her cultivation base. Originally, he had planned to kill this demon and obtain the primordial chaos source and the undying cultivation technique. Even if Junior Sister had used up her cultivation base, it would have been worth it. But now, all his efforts were in vain. Brother Meng, I am sorry. Just now, I accidentally leaked some of my sword energy. I did not expect it to break your martial extreme variation. Sigh, I am not skilled enough. Beigong Yu shook his head and sighed. Meng Ao's face turned red when he saw Beigong Yu. He wanted to flare up, but he didn't dare. After all, Beigong Yu was the current chosen of the Beigong clan. Who would dare to provoke the Beigong clan's saint? Meng Ao could only swallow this grievance in one gulp. Senior brother, forget it. Lung Chuiwe was really afraid that Meng Ao would lose his mind and attack Beigong Yu. After all, Beigong Yu was the sacred son of the Beigong clan and cultivated the Void Sword principle. The Void Sword Dao was the bane of the martial extreme transformation. Meng Ao and Lung Chuiwe's greatest reliance were the martial extreme divine fist and martial extreme change. But now, his reliance could not threaten Beigong Yu. Haha, you 2 little fellows, come and die. At this moment, the demonic energy surged forth as a gigantic demonic shadow appeared between the heaven and earth. Having escaped from death, the demonic path of evil was truly drenched in cold sweat. Just now, he felt the threat of death. Even though the undying body of the sky demon was powerful, it did not mean that it was invincible. Just now, when he was trapped in the extreme martial void, if the other party had seized the opportunity to destroy his essence spirit, he would have died as well. The so-called immortality was not absolute. Demon, don't be arrogant. Before Meng Ao could speak, Beigong Yu stepped forward. Who the hell are you? Demonic path of evil frantically devoured the surrounding essence of the heaven and earth to quickly replenish his exhausted Yuan Qi. This guy is courting death. How dare he act so presumptuously in front of Baigong Yu? Baigong Yu is the chosen of the Baigong clan, breaking the void with a sword. He has never been defeated. The experts who crossed over from the eternal world watched nervously as Baigong Yu and demonic path of evil confronted each other. Looks like you are very powerful. Demonic path of evil's voice was extremely cold. Hihi, I am not skilled enough. How powerful can I be? Baigong Yu said disapprovingly. All the experts who came from the eternal world secretly gave Baigong Yu the middle finger. If this fellow was not skilled enough, then all the cultivators in the eternal world were not skilled enough. Then scram. Don't stop me from killing people. Demonic path of evil roared and his terrifying demonic voice entered the ears of everyone present. Killing intent filled the air. Sigh. Can we talk properly? You are telling me to scram? You are going too far. Baigong Yu was like a chatterbox, completely lacking the bearing and elegance of a chosen. I can't be bothered to talk nonsense with you. After saying that, demonic path of evil charged at Meng Ao and Lung Chuyue. Monstrous demonic energy swept down from the sky, creating an incomparably grand atmosphere. Within the demonic energy, one demonic silhouette after another condensed. Like a magnificent army, they charged at Meng Ao and the others. Rumble, the entire world shook. This, Meng Ao and Lung Chuyue were shocked and they quickly retreated. Sigh. Let's talk things out. How can you kill people at the drop of a hat? Baigong Yu hurriedly swung his sword. He looked panicked, but when he swung his sword, he actually cut the demonic energy sweeping down from the sky in half. What? Demonic path of evil was taken aback. Was this fellow pretending to be weak? The power of this sword was earth-shattering. It was definitely not inferior to the Wuji immortal sect's Wuji divine fist. The countless demonic silhouettes enveloped by the demonic energy dissipated under the sword light. Seeing the power of this sword, Meng Ao's forehead broke out in cold sweat. Compared to existences at the level of Chosen and God, there was still a huge gap between him and them, be it in terms of combat strength or cultivation. Ji Ling couldn't help but be moved when she saw this sword. She was also a swordsman, but even she couldn't slash out such a sword. Perhaps only her father, Ji Fei, could display such a shocking sword. I wonder how long it will take father to come out of seclusion. Ji Ling looked up at the sky. Her father was her greatest pride. Even demonic path of evil, who was hiding in the demonic energy, was almost cut in half by this sword. At this time, he had no choice but to put away his contempt. This seemingly lazy young man was actually an incredible expert. He was not someone that the two little fellows from before could compare to. Is this the true strength of eternal world? Up in the sky, Tong Yu and Di Jotian, who saw this scene, were also inexplicably shocked. With their cultivation, they could naturally see how powerful this sword of Baigong Yu's was. Baigong Yu's sword principle had been cultivated to the extreme and was just lacking some maturity. Chapter 4594. Mortal world refines the heart, only me and only sword. Baigong Yu raised his sword and sang loudly. His expression was a little crazy, but it was also a little cool, giving people a mysterious feeling. This guy, the onlookers did not think much of it. However, when the holy sages and gods from eternal world saw that, their faces changed. No wonder this guy has been playing around in the human world for the past 100 years and has done so many ridiculous things. So that's how it is. In the eyes of the great sun sovereign, the sun and moon were sinking. In the divine flame outside his body, there seemed to be countless golden crows flapping their wings. Humph. This is a form of cultivation. What's so strange about it? A divine sun sneered. You can't say that. A purple-robed saintess was shrouded in immortal light, like a supreme immortal descending to the mortal world. The immortal light outside her body kept condensing into golden lotuses that kept disappearing. Holy daughter Yu Huang of the eternal immortal sect. She was the older sister of Yu Wei, a true legacy disciple of the eternal immortal sect. Yu Wei had the confidence to challenge Meng Ao. After all, his sister was the holy daughter of the eternal immortal sect, who, like Baigong Yu, was only a bit weaker. For existences like them, Becoming an extreme supremacy was something that was already set in stone. After all, the Eternal Immortal sect had poured all of its resources into grooming a successor. 100 types of people, 100 types of hearts. This Beigong Yu has obviously found what he wants, Yu Huang said indifferently. Well said. The other divine princes and saints nodded. Buzz. The divine sword in Beigong Yu's hand vibrated constantly, releasing one sharp sword light after another. No matter how fierce the demonic and evil attacks were, they couldn't stop his sword. This was what it meant to be able to break all techniques with a single sword. Another eternal law. Demonic Dao Xie roared. Hehe, this is my technique. Beigong Yu smiled. What? Devil Path Heretic was taken aback. This sword Dao was actually cultivated by this fellow himself. Not those so-called eternal laws. His own technique was actually comparable to the eternal technique. This guy was too heaven-defying. Everyone was dumbfounded. 10,000 laws only me. Beigong Yu slashed out with his sword. Suddenly, there was a flash of blood, and Evil's left arm was sent flying. Only me. When Jiyu Ling heard what Beigong Yu said, she suddenly had a flash of inspiration. She seemed to have caught onto something, which surprised and delighted her. What a great all laws are mine. Devil Dao knew that he had encountered an abnormal fellow. The things that this fellow had comprehended were simply too shocking. No one knew what this fellow had experienced. However, the evil Dao could tell that this guy was someone with a story. Damn, who doesn't have a story? This demon lord is also someone with a story. Why must this demon lord be sealed away for countless years? Evil Dao's heart was filled with hatred. If one arm was gone, another would grow out. This was not a problem at all for the Devil Dao heretics who possessed the sky demon immortal body. In the blink of an eye, the left arm that Beigong Yu had cut off instantly grew back, as if it had never been cut off. However, as soon as he regrown his left arm, his right arm was chopped off by Beigong Yu, which made him extremely depressed. I'll grow it back. The evil Dao heretic's right arm grew out again. However, the next moment, it was not his arm that was cut off, but his head. With a flash of sword light, the evil Dao heretic's head flew up. Damn it! The evil Dao heretics really wanted to curse. This fellow was just messing with him. My head can grow back too. In just an instant, the evil Dao heretic's head grew out of his neck. This fellow is amazing. He actually didn't die after being hit by Beigong Yu so many times. Everyone who saw this scene was stunned. Not everyone could withstand Beigong Yu's sword. Even the divine sons and saintesses would be severely injured if they were hit by Beigong Yu's sword. One had to know that Beigong Yu's sword contained his Dao. However, it had to be said that the evil Dao heretic's sky demon immortal body was really amazing. It could actually block the power of Beigong Yu's sword Dao. At this time, even Tong Yu and Di Jotian, who were high up in the sky, were shocked. Beigong Yu's sword Dao cultivation was too heaven-defying. It did not seem like the sword Dao that a quasi-supreme could comprehend at all. Swoosh! The sword in Beigong Yu's hand danced continuously, and sword marks appeared on the evil Dao heretic's body one after another. I'm not playing anymore. The evil Dao heretics could not take it anymore. He directly turned into a ball of demonic aura and soared into the sky, trying to escape. However, the sword light that rushed out from the divine sword in Beigong Yu's hand instantly destroyed the ball of demonic aura. However, the demonic aura immediately grew back after it was destroyed, which made Beigong Yu feel somewhat helpless. The evil Dao heretics was also extremely depressed. In the next moment, the demonic aura that he had turned into suddenly exploded and turned into countless thin lines that rushed in all directions. His primordial spirit attached itself to each thin line of demonic aura. However, Beigong Yu shook the divine sword in his hand. In the next moment, countless equally thin sword chi erupted from his sword and accurately slashed every strand of demonic aura. The primordial spirit of the evil Dao heretics was not destroyed, but it still suffered a great impact. What a terrifying sword Dao! Jiyu Ling's heart trembled. Even if he were to fight Beigong Yu, it would be difficult for him to win. This kind of monstrous existence was too difficult to deal with. If the divine sons, saintesses, and sons of the top forces from the eternal world were as monstrous as Beigong-yu, then the experts from the four major worlds would not be a match for him at all. Beigong-yu alone was enough to beat up the quasi-supremes of the four major worlds. Moreover, there were many divine sons and saintesses from the eternal world who had crossed over this time. The princes of the eternal god dynasty could not be compared to Beigong-yu and the others at all. Beigong-yu could kill the eldest prince of the eternal god dynasty with one sword strike. As for Yu Huang, Emperor Great Sun, and Wu Jizi, they did not take the eternal god dynasty seriously at all. At this time, the evil Dao heretics was a little anxious. He could not escape, nor could he beat Beigong-yu. Could he just let this guy keep torturing him? The evil Dao heretics knew very well that Beigong-yu's sword Dao could weaken the power of his primordial spirit. The immortality of the heavenly demon immortal form referred to the immortality of the primordial spirit. Once the primordial spirit was destroyed, even if the evil Dao heretics had cultivated the heavenly demon immortal form, he would still die. Beigong-yu had long since seen through the evil Dao heretics' weakness. He wanted to exhaust the evil Dao heretics to death. In fact, the other divine sons might have also seen through the evil Dao heretics' weakness. The only weakness of the evil Dao heretics' heavenly demon immortal form was his primordial spirit. What a guy! Chapter 4595. Beigong-yu's way of the sword had reached an unimaginable level. Although he was only a quasi-supreme, his way of the sword was much higher than his cultivation. The sword in his hand had become a deified weapon. As Beigong-yu's opponent, evil wanted to die. He could clearly see where Beigong-yu's sword was coming from, but he just couldn't dodge it. In an instant, evil's newly reformed demonic body was cut into several pieces by Beigong-yu's sword light. Demonic blood splattered, and every drop of demonic blood exuded a powerful demonic aura. A demon who had cultivated to this level could completely demonize an area with just a drop of blood. The demonic aura exuded from a drop of blood could turn countless living creatures within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles into demonic creatures. Evil's demonic body quickly reformed. Kill! Evil roared and attacked. His figure suddenly became blurry, and one illusory demonic shadow after another appeared around Beigong-yu. Swoosh! Beigong-yu continued to attack unhurriedly. One of the demonic shadows was cut into two by his sword light and dissipated into the void. However, in an instant, a new demonic shadow emerged. 36 demonic shadows surrounded Beigong-yu, and each of them exuded a powerful demonic aura. What kind of magic is this? The divine sons and saintesses from Eternal World who were watching the battle were curious. This demon was actually able to withstand Beigong-yu's sword for so long. This level of cultivation was much stronger than that of the heir disciples of the top forces. Given this demon's cultivation base, he could already be considered as a powerhouse in Eternal World. Of course, even an extreme supreme could only be considered as an expert in Eternal World. The real masters of an area were the Eternal Supremes. Interesting. At this time, Beigong-yu seemed to be getting serious. With the sword in his hand, he kept the 36 demonic shadows at a distance of 10 meters from him. No matter how hard the demonic shadows attacked, they could not break through the 10 meters. The area within 10 meters of Beigong-yu had become an absolute forbidden area. Sword domain. The great Sun Sovereign, Yu Huang, and the others couldn't help but be shocked when they saw this scene. Beigong-yu was simply a monster. Not only had he cultivated the Void Sword Dao, but he had also cultivated the Sword Domain. The demonic path had finally met its match. In the past, he was no match for Tong-yu, and now that he had just escaped, he encountered such a freak. Would the heavens really not give him a way out? My fate is up to me, not the heavens. 36 demonic shadows roared at the same time. In the next moment, all 36 demonic shadows exploded at the same time. Terrifying destructive power erupted and completely engulfed Beigong-yu. With Beigong-yu at the center, countless cracks appeared in the space within a radius of a dozen miles, and it looked like it was about to collapse. This was the primal chaos immortal mansion world, where the laws of heaven and earth were incomparably stable. Even if an extreme Dao Supreme attacked, they wouldn't be able to cause much damage here. Seeing this scene, even the great Sun Emperor and the others couldn't help but be moved. Beigong Yu is doomed, Yu Huang said. Humph. It's hard to say, Meng Ao said disapprovingly. Who was Beigong Yu? He was a peerless demonic genius. His sword principle cultivation was something that even extreme grade supremes could not compare to. Once his cultivation successfully broke through to the extreme grade realm, he would probably be able to go up against the supremes of the older generation. Rumble, the destructive demonic power was vast and mighty, and the demonic chi enveloped the area. Within the demonic chi, there were flashes of blood-colored demonic light from time to time. Humph. The demonic path is going to escape. Above the 9 heavens, Tong Yu, who had been watching the demonic path from the beginning to the end, suddenly narrowed his eyes. The demonic path seemed to be fighting Beigong Yu to the death, but in fact, this was all a cover-up. No one understood the demonic path better than him. How could this guy be willing to fight with his life so easily? This guy cherished his life very much. Ji Yu Ling watched the battle from the side. Beigong Yu's sword Dao was a great inspiration to her, which made her Dao more complete. However, because of her bloodline, it was very difficult for her to break through to the extreme Dao realm. Just as Ji Yu Ling was pondering, countless blood-colored light rushed out from the demonic chi. True demon blood escape technique? Someone exclaimed. What? The experts from the primordial realm were shocked beyond belief. The true demon blood escape technique was the most powerful demonic art of the demons of the primordial realm. Once it was used, even if they were trapped in a dangerous place, they would be able to escape. Trying to escape? The Grand Sun Emperor laughed coldly. He waved his right hand, and a net of fire flew out from his palm, spreading out to cover the entire area. He wanted to capture Devil Dao Wretch. However, the countless rays of blood-red light penetrated the fiery net and instantly disappeared into the void without a trace. What? When the Grand Sun Emperor saw that Devil Dao Wretch's blood-colored light pierced through the net of fire, his face fell. He had actually failed. What a disgrace, this is. Ha ha ha. Aren't you supposed to be very strong, Grand Sun Emperor? How did you fail? Someone laughed as he approached from the distance. Wu polarity. Yu Huang's pupils constricted when she saw who it was. The martial Zenith Immortal Sect and the Eternal Immortal Sect were sworn enemies. Wu Polarity's arrival caused quite a few people to rush forward, clearly on his side. However, there were also quite a few divine sons and holy maidens on Yu Huang's side. Do you want to fight, Wu Polarity? The Grand Sun Emperor stared coldly at the young man approaching. He was dressed in green, and had an ordinary appearance. He didn't exude any powerful aura, making him look like an ordinary person. However, no one dared to underestimate him. Wu Polarity was the divine son of the martial Zenith Immortal Sect. I didn't expect you to be here. Yu Huang walked up to him. Yu Huang? Wu Polarity looked at Yu Huang, his eyes flashing with cold light. The atmosphere between the two of them changed subtly, and they were ready to jump at each other's throat. Roar. A low growl came from the area covered by the demonic energy. In the next moment, countless rays of sword light pierced through the layers of demonic energy and slashed out. The mighty sword chi waves directly dispersed the demonic chi that shrouded the surroundings. He escaped. Beigong Yu wasn't surprised. He looked as indolent as ever, as if nothing in the world interested him. Reaching for a gourd of wine at his waist, he uncorked it and took a gulp. Meanwhile, the 4 divine sons and holy maidens had gathered in the eastern region of the primal chaos immortal sect. For a moment, the atmosphere here was a little strange. The Grand Sun Emperor was the sovereign of countless divine sons and holy maidens, and had a very high status. However, Yu Huang was a holy maiden of the Eternal Immortal Sect, and her cultivation base was no weaker than the Grand Sun Emperor's. As for Wu Polarity, he was the most outstanding divine son in the history of the martial Zenith Immortal Sect. He had never been defeated, and had even managed to escape unscathed when fighting experts of the older generation. As for Beigong Yu, he was a freakishly strong individual. As long as he had a sword, no one would dare to provoke him. Interesting. Up in the sky, Tong Yu and Di Jotian watched the scene with interest. Chapter 4596. The divine sons and holy maidens of the top forces in Eternal World were not on the same level as the divine sons and holy maidens of the Eternal Divine Dynasty. It had to be said, the Eternal Divine Dynasty was just one of the three great forces in Eternal World. It could not be considered as a peak-level force in Eternal World. At present, the passageway connecting the Chaos Immortal Mansion World and Eternal World was on the Immortal Continent. Due to that, the Immortal Continent had become the focal point of the entire Eternal World's world of cultivation. There were not many passageways between Eternal World and the other worlds. Thus, the appearance of a passageway to the lower worlds within the Immortal Continent would naturally attract the attention of the top forces within Eternal World. At that very moment, the divine sons and holy daughters of the four top forces of Eternal World had gathered in the eastern region of the Chaos Immortal Mansion World. If news of this were to make its way back to Eternal World, it would surely cause a stir. Eternal World was simply too big. There was a great distance between the Golden Crow clan, the Martial Zenith Immortal sect, the Baegong family, and the Eternal Immortal sect. It was rare for the divine princes and saintesses of these top forces to meet under normal circumstances. That was especially true of the Martial Zenith Immortal sect and the Eternal Immortal sect, which were sworn enemies. Therefore, it was only natural that the Martial Zenith Immortal sect would treat Yu Huang with hostility. It was the same for Yu Huang. Boom. Without any nonsense, Wu Jizhi and Yu Huang attacked each other at the same time. Boom. A thunderous sound rang out, causing everyone's eardrums to ache. The two silhouettes clashed in an instant, sending out astonishing energy waves that shook the entire world. The surrounding people couldn't help but retreat far away. Hehe, there's going to be a good show. With a smile, Baegong Yu took off the wine gourd from his waist, pulled out the stopper, and took a sip. The aroma of the wine filled the air. These two fellows, the great Sun Emperor, stared at the two experts who were fighting. The Golden Crow divine force surged from his body. A battle of this level was exactly what he needed. That was because normal cultivation was no longer of any use to them. However, in a life-or-death battle, they might be able to completely stimulate their potential and achieve the ultimate leap. Gulling was also staring at the battle between Great Sun Sovereign and Yu Huang. She was extremely shocked. Was this the true strength of these people? At this moment, in the western region of the primal Chaos Immortal Estate world, countless rays of bloody light suddenly surged forth from all directions, converging at the peak of a large mountain. A blurry figure emerged from the blood-red demonic light. Those fellows are from Eternal World. Demonic Dao Xie's silhouette appeared in the bloodlight. Countless bloodlight rays instantly disappeared and entered his body. For him, Eternal World was a legend. After using the true demonic blood escape technique, the demonic path was extremely weak. His body swayed and he almost fell to the ground. That swordsman was too powerful. If he didn't use this technique, he wouldn't be able to escape. The cultivators from Eternal World were truly very strong. Bam! Just then, a figure appeared behind demonic Dao Xie and smashed a brick onto the back of his head, instantly shattering the brick into smithereens. The demonic path heretic fell to the ground and ate a mouthful of mud. Who is it? The demonic path's heretic saw stars dancing in front of his eyes, and he almost fainted. Hey! You didn't faint from my slap. The person who launched the sneak attack was surprised. Who are you? Were you sent by that despicable Tong Yu? Devil Dao Xie stood up shakily and turned around to stare at the man. He was so angry that his eyes were about to spit fire. This guy actually dared to sneak up on him. Tong Yu? Who is that? I don't know him. The man shook his head. If you weren't sent by Tong Yu, why did you sneak up on me? Devil Dao Xie was going crazy. He didn't know this guy at all. Are you stupid? Of course I attacked you for the primordial chaos source energy. The man laughed. He could tell that Devil Dao Xie was currently very weak. He wanted to take advantage of this moment to rob him. You, Devil Dao Xie was shocked and furious. Are you curious about how I knew you would appear here? The man said with a prideful tone. Humph. Devil Dao Xie sneered but didn't say anything. Who am I? I am He Tian. Your blood escape technique might be powerful, But my escape technique isn't any weaker. The man continued. You are He Tian. Devil Dao Xie finally knew this guy's name. This guy looked like a gentleman, but his attacks were extremely ruthless. That brick was very powerful. Moreover, what really shocked Devil Dao Xie was that this guy had mastered some kind of escape technique. This escape technique was not inferior to his true demon blood escape technique. Alright, I won't waste any more time. Hand over the primordial chaos source. He Tian stared at Devil Dao Xie and said coldly. I didn't. That was a rumor spread by that despicable Tong Yu. Devil Dao Xie shook his head. Hihi, is that so? If that's the case, we can't have a proper conversation. He Tian's voice turned cold. He didn't expect Devil Dao Xie to obediently hand over the primordial chaos source. This guy was very cunning. Humph, let's go. Devil Dao Xie said. A blood-colored demonic light rushed out from his body and soared into the sky, wanting to escape. Seal. He Tian directly threw out an array disc. In the next moment, a huge array enveloped the entire mountain. The void seemed to solidify. Countless array patterns interweaved in the void, forming countless array diagrams. Shocking killing intent spread out in all directions, causing the nearby living beings to panic. What? Devil Dao Xie was shocked. He was blocked by the killing array and landed back on the mountain. At this time, killing arrays descended from the sky one after another, tightly trapping the demonic cultivators on the mountain top in 3 layers, making it impossible for them to escape. This guy, Devil Dao Xie, couldn't help but be shocked. Didn't he just casually throw out these killing arrays without consuming any resources? Since when did these killing arrays become so cheap? Devil Dao Xie felt his teeth aching. How could he fight against such a rich guy who could casually throw out killing arrays? Should he use the true demon blood escape technique again? Devil Dao Xie immediately rejected the idea. If he used it again, even if he didn't die from the opponent, he would kill himself. He couldn't afford that kind of consumption. However, it was impossible for Devil Dao Xie to admit defeat. Little guy, don't push me too far. Devil Dao Xie stared at the figure in the sky and gritted his teeth. I'm a dignified devil lord, but I'm being bullied by these juniors again and again. I've really lived like a dog. Ha ha, He Tian laughed, don't flaunt your seniority in front of me. I've gone through countless reincarnations. When I was dominating the world, your grandfather's grandfather was still playing in the mud. As He Tian's cultivation continued to rise, the sealed memories in the depths of his soul began to awaken. His cultivation technique was very special. He could accumulate strength through reincarnation after reincarnation. Reincarnation? Chapter 4597. Reincarnation was mysterious and unfathomable. It was the greatest secret of all time. Even the most powerful existence didn't dare to step into that domain. One must know that the ancient Buddhist lord of the human world had once made a great wish to establish reincarnation and deliver all living beings from suffering. In the end, not only did the 6 paths of reincarnation fail to be established, even the ancient Buddhist lord disappeared. Since ancient times, it seemed that as long as one interfered with the domain of reincarnation, no matter how powerful one was, something bad would happen to them. However, now, a guy who had reincarnated countless times appeared in front of him. How could Devil Dao Evil not be shocked? However, he was also very suspicious. Did this guy really go through reincarnation countless times? How was that possible? Hand over the primordial chaos origin. What are you waiting for? He Tian was somewhat impatient. You want it? If you have the ability, then come and get it. Devil Dao Evil gritted his teeth. After all, he was a demon lord. He had once dominated the primordial world and even fought against the original owner of the primordial chaos immortal mansion world, Tong Yu. In the end, Tong Yu won by a narrow margin. Devil Dao Evil was sealed in the ghost town by Tong Yu. Of course, in front of Tong Yu, Devil Dao Evil was an existence like an ant. He wasn't even an extreme Dao paragon, while Tong Yu was a half-step eternal realm existence. You really won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Alright, I'll let you experience the power of an array grandmaster. After saying that, Erebus no longer hesitated and immediately activated the magic array. Rumble, a divine fire array directly obliterated Devil Dao Evil. Monstrous divine fire instantly turned the place where Devil Dao Evil was standing into a world of fire. This is, Devil Dao Evil stared at the divine fire that was burning towards him. He could clearly see that there were flame-shaped Dao patterns inside the divine fire. This wasn't an ordinary divine fire. A divine fire that could condense Dao patterns was definitely one of the most powerful flames in the world. True Devil Domain, open. Devil Dao Evil roared. His body shook, and in the next moment, a mass of demonic light instantly spread out from his body. That mass of demonic light actually broke the divine fire that was sweeping towards him. The divine fire directly engulfed the demonic light, burning the demonic patterns on the demonic light and extinguishing them. Although the divine fire was blocked, the heat from the divine fire still penetrated the demonic light. It made the demonic path feel like it was in a fire pit, and its body was about to be ignited. Rumble, at this time, under Haitian's control, the divine flame array underwent a shocking transformation. A giant fire cauldron appeared in the void, and within the cauldron, a ball of demonic light flickered. Cauldron refining true demon. Haitian sat cross-legged in the air. His hands kept forming seals, and the fire cauldron formed by the divine fire formation kept trembling. Ancient Dao runes kept rushing out from his hands, imprinting themselves onto the surface of the fire cauldron. The flame cauldron's power was constantly rising. I can't hold on much longer. Within the fire cauldron, beads of sweat dripped down Evil's forehead. He had activated the true demon domain with all his strength, but he had just used the true demon blood escape art and had consumed a great deal of his origin energy. Now, he had a feeling of powerlessness. Yes, I have to finish this battle quickly. Haitian knew that the commotion he had caused was a little too big. The flames soared into the sky, burning half the sky red. It had already alarmed some of the Western region's experts. Boom! With a loud noise, a mountain several hundred miles away from Haitian suddenly collapsed. A golden chariot rushed out, and the chariot was pulled by 3 fire killins. Fire killins were divine beasts. An adult fire Chileen was absolutely a terrifying existence that could rival a quasi-supreme. And the fire Chileen's primogenitor was an existence at the extreme Dao level. But now, a noble fire Chileen with the bloodline of a divine beast was being used to pull a chariot. It was truly extravagant. On the chariot stood a white-haired young man in purple armor. He held a divine halberd in his hand, a halberd that was wreathed in divine flames. The young man's body was also enveloped in a layer of purple divine flames. What a pure power of the way of fire! Who is it? The young man's chariot paused in the air for a moment, then rushed in the direction of the flames. In another direction, a woman in black quietly appeared on the peak of a mountain. Her face was covered, but her eyes were incomparably bright. It was as though the sun, moon, and stars were faintly visible in the depths of her eyes. There were many experts who had entered the Chaos Immortal Mansion world, and they were scattered all over the place. Not everyone was gathered in the eastern region. At that moment, the fire Chileen pulled the golden chariot through the sky, instantly disappearing into the horizon. Oh! Emperor Ziyang? The woman in black looked in the direction where the chariot had disappeared, and her eyes became incomparably sharp. Emperor Ziyang and Emperor Ziyang were both known as sovereigns among the younger generation of Eternal World. They were absolute sovereigns among the younger generation of Eternal World. It had to be said that it was not easy to become sovereigns among the younger generation of Eternal World. Let's go check it out. The next moment, the woman in black disappeared from the mountain peak like a puff of smoke. All of you, scram! Haitian shouted at those who had appeared nearby. Humph! Your Excellency is too overbearing. Someone sneered. Since they dared to enter the Chaos Immortal Mansion world to participate in this trial, they naturally had something to rely on. After all, who didn't have a few ultimate moves to defend themselves? Shua. Someone opened his divine eyes and looked at the fire cauldron. Fiend. Many people were surprised to see someone refining a fiend here. Still not scram? Do you want me to invite you? Haitian grew impatient. At that moment, A fiery light rose to the sky from the east. 3 fire killins pulled a golden chariot and charged over. A terrifying pressure swept out, making it difficult for the surrounding experts to breathe. It's Emperor Ziyang from Purple Sun Dynasty. Someone recognized the newcomer. Purple Sun Dynasty? Some of the quasi-sovereigns from Eternal World were shocked. Purple Sun Dynasty was a behemoth that ruled over the 3 continents in the western region of Eternal World. It was a top force in Eternal World. Emperor Ziyang was a prince of Purple Sun Dynasty. He had cultivated for less than 1,000 years, but he had already become a sovereign and had his own fiefdom. In Purple Sun Dynasty, he was a rare genius that only appeared once in hundreds of thousands of years. Unexpectedly, even he came. Someone exclaimed. The aura that the figure on the chariot exuded was as deep as a mountain, giving off an extremely formidable atmosphere of oppression. It was a shocking sight. You bastards, are you still not going to scram? Do you want me to treat you fellows to a meal? Chapter 4598. The primordial chaos source was a heaven-splitting treasure. Even an extreme supremacy would be envious of it. He Tian naturally did not want others to know that he had snatched this treasure from the demon. Therefore, he began to chase people away and clear the place. If you don't get lost, then don't blame me for being rude. A shocking murderous aura erupted from He Tian's body and swept in all directions. Those with weaker cultivation directly felt a chill throughout their bodies, and even their souls were trembling. In great shock, these people directly turned around and left. These people also knew their own limits. They could not even withstand the murderous aura that erupted from the other party. How could they be a match for him? If they stayed, they would only be sending themselves to their deaths. More than half of the people who were peeping around suddenly left, and those who remained were those who believed that they could compete with this arrogant guy. Among them were Ziyang Emperor and the woman in black. There were also a few figures whose aura was not the slightest bit weaker than Ziyang Emperor and the woman in black. The Eternal World was too big. Even Ziyang Emperor did not dare to say that he was invincible among the younger generation, because there were too many experts among the younger generation. Since you don't want to get lost, then all of you can die. He Tian was furious. Beams of divine light rushed out from his body and directly smashed towards Ziyang Emperor and the others. What is this? Everyone was shocked. That is he AF * King Lunatic? Using array discs to smash people? Array discs? Everyone was dumbfounded. Boom. Killing arrays directly exploded above everyone's heads, instantly enveloping the area, and then trapped the people below in the killing arrays. He really is a lunatic, someone wailed. When the killing arrays fell, more than a dozen people were instantly killed, and they could not even last for a few breaths of time. Only Ziyang Emperor was extremely powerful. A dazzling divine light erupted from the golden chariot, blocking the power of the killing arrays outside. Buzz. The woman in black was surrounded by demonic aura, and a demonic tower emerged from her body, enveloping her in the demonic tower, blocking He Tian's killing arrays. Boom. Someone exploded with sky-piercing divine power, using his own power to fight against He Tian's killing formation. He was extremely ferocious. The entire region was filled with killing intent. There were formation runes everywhere, interweaving with each other. Huge formation diagrams appeared on the ground, each of them enveloping a region. He Tian hurriedly operated the killing formation, wanting to turn that demonic cultivator into ashes. The fire cauldron formed by the power of the formation began to tremble violently. Endless worldly energy frantically gathered from all directions, and the active energy gathered by the fire cauldron continued to soar. Hand over the primordial chaos source energy or die. He Tian transmitted his voice to the Devil Dao heretic in the fire cauldron. Haha, Devil Dao Xie suddenly laughed. I have the primordial chaos source energy on me. I'll give this supreme treasure to whoever can kill this fellow who has trapped me. Heretic suddenly roared, his voice spreading far and wide. This guy, He Tian, was so angry that his nose was crooked. What? This demon has the primordial chaos source energy on him? No wonder this guy wants to drive us away. He wants to keep this supreme treasure for himself. At this moment, everyone came to a realization. Drive us away and keep the supreme treasure for himself. Ziyang Emperor shook the divine halberd in his hand, then pushed off the chariot with both feet, and his entire body soared into the sky. He brandished the divine halberd in his hand and fiercely slashed at the killing formation. Swish! Wherever the divine halberd passed, a spatial crack appeared in the void. The formation diagram under the divine halberd was as fragile as a piece of paper, and it was directly torn apart. Up in the 9 heavens, Tong Yu and Di Jotian, who were overseeing the Chaos Immortal Mansion world, were shocked when they saw this scene. "This is not the power of the extreme Tao," Tong Yu said. "What a guy! He can tear the void with just the power of his physical body." Di Jotian couldn't help but be shocked. Before Jiyu Fei went into seclusion, he had already made arrangements. He had set up a super-killing formation in the entire Chaos Immortal Mansion world. As long as the power of the extreme Tao appeared, the killing formation would be activated and completely annihilate the power of the extreme Tao. Therefore, even Tong Yu and Di Jotian didn't dare to use the power of the extreme Tao in the Chaos Immortal Mansion world. They didn't even dare to use the power of the half-step Eternal Realm. It should be known that once the killing formation set up by Jiyu Fei was triggered, even the existence of the half-step Eternal Realm would suffer a calamity. No one dared to ignore the rules set by Jiyu Fei, because those who ignored the rules set by Jiyu Fei were all dead. It should be known that Tong Yu had a grudge against Heretic. With Tong Yu's current cultivation, it would be a piece of cake for him to kill Heretic. But he didn't dare to make a move. To be precise, he didn't dare to make a move while the trial was still going on. At this time, Emperor Ziyang actually broke through He Tian's killing formation and rushed out. He took a step and instantly appeared above He Tian's head. "Kill!" Emperor Ziyang exhaled and roared. The halberd in his hand slashed down at Mahakala in a frenzy. The extremely violent power of the purple sun erupted from the halberd and tore through the void once again. Swish! He Tian's figure suddenly disappeared in the void. Although Emperor Ziyang's attack did not hit He Tian, it directly blasted a big hole in the void where He Tian was, and the chaotic qi was blasted out. Damn it! He Tian was truly enraged. He directly smashed array discs at Ziyang Emperor. The array discs that he smashed instantly turned into killing arrays that rushed towards Ziyang Emperor. There was the 5 elements divine fire array with blazing flames, the saber soldier array with shocking killing intent, the violent sandstorm array with rolling sand and dust, and the divine water array with monstrous water. This guy, the people watching the battle from afar were completely speechless. He Tian's move was too unique. No one had ever seen anyone directly smashing someone with a killing formation. Emperor Ziyang sneered and directly waved the divine halberd towards He Tian. In the face of absolute power, all the formations were like paper, extremely fragile. And the person with absolute power was Emperor Ziyang. He was like a peerless god of death, breaking through 7 or 8 killing formations in a row and killing his way to He Tian. This freak. He Tian could not help but be moved. This guy was the most violent guy she had ever seen. His strength was probably not even comparable to those ancient giant dragons. In the face of such a fierce and peerless god of death, He Tian could only retreat and did not dare to confront him head-on. At this time, the others were also shocked by the combat strength displayed by Emperor Ziyang. How did this guy cultivate such powerful strength? Chapter 4599. The demon trapped in the fire cauldron actually had primordial chaos source. This made everyone extremely excited and their eyes turned red. I didn't expect this guy to have a heaven-opening divine item. Emperor Ziyang charged at He Tian with the divine halberd in his hand. The killing array that He Tian had set up was extremely weak in the face of Emperor Ziyang's halberd. It could not stop him at all. In the eyes of the people of Eternal World, heaven-opening divine items were extremely precious. Eternal World was too transcendent and had existed for countless years. Although Eternal World was rich in cultivation resources that could satisfy the needs of Eternal Supremes, heaven-opening divine items were extremely rare in Eternal World. What was a heaven-opening divine item? It was a divine item that existed at the beginning of the world. Or even before the world was created. Eternal World had existed for countless years, and most of the heaven-opening divine items had been used up. It was extremely rare to see one. However, in other worlds, heaven-opening divine items could still be found, especially in the younger worlds. There were many heaven-opening divine items there. If I can get my hands on primordial chaos source, my purple sun divine constitution will be able to transform into the primordial chaos purple sun divine constitution. By then, I won't be far from being invincible among the younger generation. Emperor Ziyang's heart was burning with passion. He must get his hands on this heaven-opening divine item. Rumble, he brandished the divine halberd and charged at He Tian. This guy, He Tian, was shocked by his opponent's aura. The combat power displayed by his opponent was too strong. The killing array that he had set up was no ordinary killing array. However, his killing array was like child's play in front of this guy. It was not worth mentioning at all. Samsara of 9 deaths. He Tian did not hesitate and immediately used his trump card. Boom. The void around him shattered, and the void within a radius of 10,000 miles disappeared in an instant, turning into a terrifying black hole. What? Emperor Ziyang felt his vision go black and he fell. His surroundings were pitch black and he could not see any light. It was as if he had entered an absolute dark void. Everyone within a radius of 10,000 miles felt the same. It was as if they had fallen into a dark abyss without any light. How is this possible? The black-robed masked woman and the demonic cultivator trapped in the fire cauldron turned pale with fright. At this moment, they were shocked to find that the essence energy in their bodies was rapidly being erased. To be more precise, it was being swallowed by the pitch-black void around them. The other experts who were trapped by the killing array were unlucky. After the killing array entered the dark void, it immediately collapsed and countless array patterns dissipated in the void. The experts trapped in the killing formation were horrified to discover that their bodies were withering at a speed visible to the naked eye. No, the shriveled body of a powerful quasi-supreme being directly turned into ashes. Even his primordial spirit dissipated in the void. The light of his primordial spirit was directly extinguished. That was a sign of his life imprint being obliterated. He wouldn't even have the chance to reincarnate. Naturally, this world needed reincarnation. Be it the myriad celestial planes or eternal world, reincarnation was a taboo. It was an absolute mystery. Even those eternal exalts were unable to clearly explain reincarnation, unable to understand it. What is this? The power of reincarnation? Emperor Ziyang was in trouble. The power of the purple sun in his body was gradually being erased, and the purple sun divine flame outside his body also dimmed. Rumble, at this moment, a thunderous sound came from afar. A ball of divine fire directly rushed over from afar. This is, Emperor Ziyang looked carefully and couldn't help but be overjoyed. He saw that within the divine fire, 3 fire killins were pulling a chariot, rushing towards him. That chariot was not simple. Emperor Ziyang laughed loudly and directly leaped up, landing on the chariot. Boom! In the next moment, he slapped the chariot with his palm. Then, the entire chariot seemed to come to life. Thousands of purple flames bloomed, and 9 purple suns appeared around the chariot. The 9 purple suns directly broke through the dark void and rushed out. What, in the outside world, He Tian couldn't help but be dumbfounded when he saw the chariot rushing out. This guy could actually break through his 9 deaths samsara void. Bang! Not far away, the void exploded, and a demonic figure rushed out, its demonic might vast and mighty in all directions. Another one? He Tian's teeth hurt. The power of his 9 deaths samsara void had weakened. Impossible. However, a scene that made He Tian speechless appeared. The nearby void expanded a few more times, and there were actually 3 guys who broke through his 9 deaths samsara void and rushed out. These were the 5 existences that could be called emperors in eternal world. I didn't expect you guys to come as well. Emperor Ziyang stood on the chariot and glanced at those people, his battle intent surging. This is King bullying. I don't want to play anymore. As He Tian spoke, he directly tore through the void and rushed into the 9 death samsara void. This guy, Emperor Ziyang, was furious. Such an expert was actually so tasteless, fleeing before the battle had even begun. Truth be told, he did not know that He Tian was really tasteless. He was the ancestor of the underhanded method, the one who made the final decision. He was no gentleman. He Tian was not stupid enough to go all out against the 5 emperors of Eternal World. He could not defeat Emperor Ziyang alone, not to mention there were 4 others who were not weaker than him. Damn it! The enraged Emperor Ziyang punched a huge mountain beside him, causing it to explode. The others won't be able to come out. A golden-haired young man said with a cold expression. That guy just now was really cunning. He had actually killed off dozens of people who were prepared to watch the show. Of course, those people actually did not have good intentions. They wanted to take advantage of the situation. Who would have thought that they would lose their lives instead? Haha, this is a good harvest. In the 9 deaths samsara void, He Tian was collecting his spoils of war. Although the bodies and primordial spirits of those he had sent into the 9 deaths samsara void had been reduced to ashes, their belongings were left behind. Storage rings, storage bags, and even the inner worlds that they had opened up would not completely collapse so quickly. With He Tian's means, he could have entered these inner worlds and harvested them before they completely collapsed. When the owner of the inner worlds died, the inner worlds would also collapse and return to nothingness, unless there was some kind of power in the inner worlds to suppress the inner worlds. Brother He, Father He, Grandpa He, Ancestor He, please let me go. At this time, a fire cauldron was floating in the endless dark void. Inside the fire cauldron, evil was really panicking. He did not want to be suppressed and sealed again. In the entire 9 deaths samsara void, only evil was still holding on. In fact, it was He Tian who did not want to kill this guy. I'll deal with you later. He Tian did not care about evil at all. He continued harvesting the spoils of war. At this time, in the eastern region of the Chaos Immortal Mansion world, Ji Ling was fighting with Sovereign Great Sunday. Their battle caused the void to crack. It was as though doomsday had arrived. This was a clash between the strongest descendants. Ji Fei was the strongest existence in the myriad celestial worlds and could fight against eternal supremes. Sovereign Great Sun also had the blood of eternal flowing in his body. Chapter 4600. Ji Ling vs. Sovereign Great Sunday. This was definitely the first clash of the strongest bloodline between the younger generation and the younger generation of the eternal world. One must know that Ji Ling was the daughter of Ji Fei, and Ji Fei was once an eternal sovereign. Therefore, Ji Ling was the second generation of an eternal sovereign, possessing the purest eternal bloodline. However, this great sun sovereign was also an eternal descendant. Of course, the ancestor of the great sun sovereign was an eternal paragon. His bloodline had been passed down for countless generations. However, Sovereign Great Sun was born with a unique bloodline. His ancestor's bloodline was several times purer than that of the other members of the Golden Crow clan. In this way, with the help of the bloodline power, the Great Sun Emperor would definitely become one of the most powerful beings among the young generation of the Gold Crow clan. Ha ha! A mere ant from the lower realm dares to compete with the bright moon? You overestimate yourself. Sovereign Great Sun laughed and attacked. He punched out and the void in front of his fist was instantly covered by divine flames. The 9 golden crows pounced towards Ji Ling. This was the combat skill of the Golden Crow clan of the Eternal World, the Divine Golden Crow Fist. This fist skill was on the same level as the Martial Extreme Divine Fist of the Martial Extreme Immortal Sect and the Eternal Extreme Palm of the Eternal Immortal Sect. The moment the Divine Golden Crow Fist was unleashed, the entire world was filled with the power of the Golden Crows. It was as if the world was about to be crushed. Ji Ling could not dodge such an overbearing punch. Since she could not dodge, then she would not dodge. Ji Ling clenched her right hand and punched out in the next moment. There was no need to think at all. She punched out with her will, and a fist energy that surpassed the limits of her strength burst out from her fist. The space in front of her shattered, and the 9 golden crows were scattered in an instant. Although it looked like an ordinary punch, it contained an invincible will. Even Sovereign Great Sun was shocked. A mere ant from the lower realm could actually cultivate such a powerful fist intent. He could not help but be shocked. Boom! Ji Ling's fist crushed everything. Sovereign Great Sun was sent flying hundreds of thousands of miles away, and smashed through a mountain. Good. Very good. I thought that the lower realms were boring, but it seems like I've underestimated the living beings of the lower realms. The Great Sun Sovereign wiped away the trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. He stared at Gulling as the divine light in his eyes was as resplendent as the sun, illuminating the entire world. In his eyes, there were countless fire elemental Tao patterns interweaving. Ji Ling only felt a murderous intent enveloping him in an instant. Kill. At this moment, the Grand Sun Sovereign roared. His eyes suddenly shot out two rays of divine light that were as terrifying as heavenly swords. These two rays of divine light instantly tore through the void and pierced through Gulling's body. One hand to create heaven, Ji Ling only had time to block with her hands, and the power of heaven transformation surged out from her hands. The moment the two rays of blood-colored light collided with Ji Ling's heaven transformation force, they instantly dissipated and melted away. Eternal law. The Great Sun Emperor was taken aback. This ant from the lower realm actually grasped the eternal law? What was going on? The Great Sun Emperor really couldn't understand. Was that eternal law so cheap? Even a creature from the lower realm could grasp it. Eternal law, even in the eternal world, was the sect protection secret technique of the major sects. It was a technique that absolutely could not be divulged to the outside world. The top forces of the eternal world strictly forbade the dissemination of eternal law. The Golden Crow race also had the eternal law. Grand Sun incinerates the heavens. The Great Sun Sovereign directly displayed the eternal law of the Golden Crow race. The next moment, endless divine fire burst out from his body, enveloping the entire world in an instant. The area within a radius of 1,000,000 miles was turned into a sea of fire. Those unlucky fellows who couldn't escape in time were burned to ashes. Even their primordial spirits couldn't escape. Their bodies and souls were destroyed. Only a small number of experts broke through the sea of fire and charged out. This fellow is very powerful. Old Tortoise, who had long since sensed that something was amiss, retreated millions of miles away. With his cultivation base, even if he was millions of miles away, he could still see the battle. None of those fellows from the eternal world are to be trifled with. Qin Yarrow frowned. The quasi-supremes of the eternal world were too strong. Be it the primordial world or the primordial world, no one was a match for them. Of course, some people in the primordial world did not want to take action. Only Ji Ling and a few others knew that there were still some hidden experts in the primordial world. Those people would not take action easily. At this moment, heaven transformation power surged out from Ji Ling's body. All the terrifying divine fire that was sweeping towards him couldn't get within 100 jong of him. Good. The Great Sun Sovereign appeared in the sea of fire and punched at Ji Ling. His fist energy broke through the void within 100 jong of Ji Ling. However, when it was still 10 jong away from Ji Ling, it was completely dissolved. What? The Great Sun Sovereign was shocked. The opponent's eternal law was too powerful. It was simply an attack that could dissolve everything. With this eternal law, wouldn't this fellow be invincible? Please don't let any accidents happen. Up in the sky, Tong Yu and Di Jotian stared at the battle below, feeling incomparably nervous. One must know that Ji Ling was Ji Fei's only daughter. If anything were to happen to her, they would be in deep trouble. Ji Fei was in seclusion. Tong Yu and Di Jotian knew that once Ji Fei came out, his cultivation base would likely be restored to the eternal realm. By then, there would be a place for Ji Fei in the myriad celestial worlds and even the eternal world. However, they couldn't take action. Heaven trampling. At this moment, Ji Ling took a step forward and instantly disappeared into the void. When she reappeared, she was already above the Great Sun Sovereign's head. Without any hesitation, she bang. Her foot landed on the Great Sun Sovereign's head. Next, the Great Sun Sovereign's head exploded. Great Sun Sovereign lost. How is that possible? The experts from the eternal world were all stunned. That was the Great Sun Sovereign, an existence that could be called an emperor. They didn't expect that he would fall in the hands of a puny ant. The Great Sun Sovereign will not lose. Someone said in a deep voice. As expected, the headless body of the sovereign of the great sun soared into the sky. A head directly grew out from his neck, its appearance no different from before. An existence that had cultivated to the peak of the quasi-supreme level was very difficult to kill. Because they could be reborn from a single drop of blood, unless their primordial spirit was destroyed. Raw. Chapter 4601. The battle between the ancient spirits and the sovereign great sun from eternal world ended with one stomp, blowing up the sovereign great sun's head. Seeing that left all the spectators dumbfounded. That was especially true for the experts from the younger generation who had crossed over from eternal world. That was the sovereign sun, an existence known as the sovereign of the younger generation. Such a powerful existence had his head crushed by a being from the lower realm. Even if he didn't die because of this, it was still a kind of humiliation. My niece is incredible. Old Tortoise could not help but sigh when he saw this. He was the son of the Grand Sun King and possessed the extreme Dao bloodline. However, not only was Ji Yufei catching up to him, even Ji Yufei's daughter was stronger than him. When will I be able to sever my supreme bloodline and achieve the extreme Dao? Old Tortoise clenched his fists. He must surpass his father, the Grand Sun King, and become the strongest demon sovereign of the demon race. The Ziyun siblings, Qin Yarrow and the others stared nervously at the two experts who were fighting. This battle was of great significance. It was a clash between the geniuses of the Four Worlds and Eternal World. Ji Yu Ling represented the strongest genius of the younger generation from the Four Worlds, while Sovereign Grand Sun was the emperor of the younger generation from Eternal World. If Ji Yu Ling defeated Sovereign Grand Sun, it would mean that the younger generation from the Four Worlds had surpassed the younger generation from Eternal World. I will not lose. Sovereign Grand Sun reformed his body and roared as he attacked Ji Yu Ling. Endless true yang energy burst out from the body of the Great Sun Emperor, turning into battle spears one after another, piercing towards Gulling in an overwhelming manner. This time, Sovereign Grand Sun was going all out. Each of the spears formed from the power of the true yang directly pierced through the void. Chaos yin-yang. Ji Yu Ling did not even think about it and directly displayed this battle skill. Rumble, a power that could reverse the universe, immediately burst out from her body. The void around her actually twisted and deformed, rippling like water. The divine spears that covered the sky and pierced toward Gulling were instantly swallowed up by the void around Gulling and lost their aim. What? Seeing this, Sovereign Grand Sun's face contorted to the extreme. Another eternal law. Sovereign Great Sun was from the Golden Crow clan of Eternal World. Thus, it was only natural that his knowledge was different from the others. The Golden Crow clan of Eternal World also possessed the Eternal Technique. Alright, let's see whose eternal law is stronger. The Great Sun Sovereign finally couldn't take it anymore. The Great Sun Emperor is finally forced into a corner. The experts from Eternal World were filled with anticipation. The Golden Crow clan was a formidable clan in Eternal World. It was in no way weaker compared to the other top forces. Witnessing the Golden Crow clan's eternal technique, the experts from Eternal World stared with widened eyes. Some even opened up their Grand Dao eyes. Boom! With a loud bang, the silhouette of the Great Sun Sovereign disappeared. The entire sky seemed like it was about to collapse. In the next moment, 9 divine suns appeared high up in the sky. This is the Golden Crow clan's eternal law, the famous 10 suns? Someone exclaimed. This is, Ji Yu Ling broke the Great Sun Sovereign's spear. She looked up and couldn't help but frown. An unimaginably vast power of destruction erupted from the 10 suns in the sky. Ji Yu Ling felt a great pressure, and an unprecedented sense of danger surged into her heart. Die. The Great Sun Sovereign's voice spread throughout the entire eastern region of the Chaos Immortal Mansion world. 10 divine suns descended from the sky towards Ji Yu Ling. 10 suns descended from the sky. This was definitely an unforgettable scene for countless experts. The terrifying aura of destruction spread out. Billions of living beings were terrified to the extreme. Even Old Tortoise and the others had to retreat further away, lest they get caught in the crossfire. Good. Ji Yu Ling made a fist stance, and a domineering aura immediately erupted from her body. Her strength soared in a straight line, and she broke through her limit. Rumble. The peerless formation that Jiyu Fei had set up actually showed signs of being disturbed. Of course, even if Jiyu Ling's strength broke through to the extreme realm, her cultivation was still at the quasi-supreme level. She wouldn't really trigger the great formation laid down by Jiyu Fei. At the moment when the 10 divine suns descended, Jiyu Ling punched out. No one could describe this punch. It seemed ordinary, but it also seemed to be otherworldly. The energy wave wasn't too strong, but Jiyu Ling's fist easily penetrated the 10 divine suns descending from the sky, and then smashed onto the great sun sovereign's body. No! Impossible! The great sun sovereign stared at the fist that smashed on his chest. His eyes were bloodshot as if blood was about to drip out. The next moment, bang! With a bang, the body of the great sun sovereign instantly disintegrated, turning into a cloud of blood mist. Whatever protective divine armor, protective divine light, all of it was useless. The great sun sovereign's primordial spirit flew out, and it was about to collapse in the void. Suddenly, a figure rushed out from the primordial spirit of the great sun sovereign, turning into a golden-haired, tall, and majestic-looking old man. Everyone was shocked. At this moment, the golden-haired old man directly grabbed the primordial spirit of the great sun sovereign, and then flew up into the sky, trying to escape. To think that the ancestor of the Golden Crow clan actually planted an incarnation on the primordial spirit of the great sun sovereign. Some of the disciples or successors of the top forces in the eternal world realized that the great sun sovereign was not afraid of death at all. In fact, this was a method used by the top forces in the eternal world to protect their geniuses. The figure actually broke through the void, and with the primordial spirit of the great sun sovereign, disappeared in an instant. Seeing this, everyone was inexplicably shocked. The great sun sovereign couldn't even take a punch from Jiyu Ling. He was defeated by a punch from Jiyu Ling. Everyone there was in a state of disbelief. That was especially true for the experts from Eternal World. Their eyeballs nearly fell to the ground. The great sun sovereign the way everyone looked at Jiyu Ling had changed. If the ancestor of the Golden Crow clan had not planted an incarnation on the primordial spirit of the great sun sovereign, the great sun sovereign might not have escaped death. Jiyu Ling's punch just now was too terrifying. Everyone felt threatened. Even Old Tortoise, Qin Yarrow, and the others were stunned by the power of the punch. It's the extreme break fist. Old Tortoise muttered to himself. This was a supreme combat skill created by Jiyu Fei. One punch to break the extreme, invincible in the world. This is the extreme break fist. Qin Yarrow was also shocked. She had also heard of this fist skill. Chapter 4602. The ultimate breaking fist that Jiyu Fei created was the sublimation of his lifelong comprehension of martial arts. Throughout the ages, Jiyu Fei was the only one who could cultivate martial arts to such a level in all the heavens and earth. Even the legendary Extreme Path martial ancestor did not have such an achievement. Jiyu Fei had surpassed the Extreme Path martial ancestor and surpassed everyone else. The Extremity Breaker Fist was an invincible fist technique. It only had one strike, but it was an invincible strike. No one could block it. Jiyu Ling used the Extremity Breaker Fist and the Sun Sovereign's body was immediately blasted apart. Even his primordial spirit was crushed by the invincible fist energy. However, at the last moment, an eternal paragon incarnation actually rushed out of the Great Sun Sovereign's primordial spirit and directly saved the Great Sun Sovereign. However, the news of the Sun Sovereign being defeated by a lower realm living being quickly spread throughout the eternal world, causing an uproar among the various forces. The Sun Sovereign was defeated by a lower realm living being? How is that possible? I heard that the lower realm living being that defeated the Sun Sovereign has grasped the eternal law. What? How can a lower realm living being grasp the eternal law? Within Eternal World, quite a number of cultivators were discussing the defeat of Sovereign Grand Sun, causing the members of the Golden Crow clan to feel very displeased. One should know that the Sun Sovereign was the strongest among the younger generation of the Golden Crow tribe. However, there was actually someone who could defeat the Sun Sovereign. This was unbelievable. Just as Jiyu Ling defeated the Sun Sovereign, in the eastern region of the Chaos Immortal Mansion world, He Tian finally obtained the primordial chaos source that he wanted. He did not kill the demonic cultivator, but threw him out of his 9-death samsara void. Demon, where do you think you are going? As soon as the demonic cultivator appeared, someone immediately attacked him. Powerful energy ripples spread out, startling many people in the vicinity. Many people knew that the demonic cultivator had the primordial chaos source. This was a treasure that even the extreme path supremes coveted. Damn, what is going on? The demonic cultivator ran away, but countless experts chased after him, wanting to obtain the primordial chaos source. Die, demon. Just as the demonic Tao and evil Tao got rid of their pursuers, another group of people appeared in front of them. When that group of people saw demonic Tao Xie, they immediately took out their magic treasures. Dozens of Tao artifacts that were at least at the quasi-sovereign level blasted towards demonic Tao Xie. It was absolutely world-shaking. Demonic Tao Xie was sent flying, coughing up blood. You bastards, evil Tao was shocked and angry. He had no choice but to flee again. He didn't even have a decent Tao artifact on him right now. They had all been taken away by that bastard He Tian. Now, he was empty-handed. As He Tian was fleeing, in the southern region of the Chaos Immortal Mansion world, an expert from Eternal World challenged Ji Yu Ling. Since Ji Yu Ling had defeated Sovereign Great Sun, she had become the target of challenge for the divine sons and saintesses of the top forces in Eternal World. Because defeating Ji Yu Ling was the same as defeating Sovereign Great Sunday Human from the lower realms, I, Holy Daughter Yu Huang of the Eternal Immortal Sect, would like to challenge you. Yu Huang from the Eternal Immortal Sect stepped forward. She's going to make a move. Those who knew about Yu Huang's background were all excited and nervous. After all, Yu Huang's cultivation was no lower than that of the Grand Sun Sovereign, and the Eternal Immortal Sect was also a sect that had its own secret technique. Come. Ji Yu Ling was not afraid of anyone. She was a natural warrior. The stronger her opponent was, the stronger her potential would be. Be careful of their space-time secret technique. Beigong Yu, who was watching from the side, suddenly said. Thanks for the reminder. Gulling nodded to Beigong Yu. The fact that the Eternal Immortal Sect possessed secret spacetime techniques was no secret in Eternal World. But for the myriad celestial planes, it was. Eternal reincarnation. Yu Huang immediately used a secret magic from the Eternal Immortal Sect. At the next moment, Ji Yu Ling felt that everything around him had stopped. Even time seemed to have stopped. He could not move at all. Moreover, his martial arts source energy had uncontrollably rushed out of his body and dissipated into the surrounding void. What shocked Ji Yu Ling the most was that time seemed to be flowing in reverse. His cultivation base was constantly being weakened. It was as though he was about to be beaten into a mortal heaven form. Without hesitation, Ji Yu Ling used the eternal magic that Ji Yu Fei had created. Instead of using the heaven form hand, she used the power of heaven form. That was her fighting style. She would not stick to convention and imitate Ji Yu Fei's techniques. Instead, she would innovate and create her own. The power of heaven form surged out of Ji Yu Ling's body and blocked Yu Huang's eternal reincarnation power. So near, yet worlds apart sword. Yu Huang waved her right hand, causing a divine sword to fly out of her body and land in her hand. In the next moment, she slashed at Ji Yu Ling. The sword light seemed to ignore the barriers of the void and slashed at Ji Yu Ling's chest. A secret technique of time and space. Ji Yu Ling was caught off guard by Yu Huang's attack. Using the heaven treading steps, he took a step to the side. The sword light slashed past his side. The cold sword chi caused Ji Yu Ling to involuntarily shiver. Yu Huang's cultivation in swordsmanship was definitely not low. Ji Yu Ling used the eternal magic in succession to resolve Yu Huang's killer move, which shocked him. No one had ever made him so embarrassed with just one move. Eat my fist. Ji Yu Ling clenched his right hand and then punched at Yu Huang. She did not even move her fist, but the power of the punch was earth-shattering. Whether it was the secret technique of time or the secret technique of space, it was simply too weak in front of Ji Yu Ling's punch. Rumble. Ji Yu Ling's fist power destroyed everything in its path. Everything was blasted and destroyed, leaving nothing behind. Swoosh. Yu Huang disappeared into the void in an instant. Jiu Ling's punch hit the void and directly smashed a black hole in the void. In the face of absolute power, anything could be directly blasted into slag. What? Not even Yu Huang is a match for him? The experts from Eternal World were shocked. If even Yu Huang was defeated by a human from the lower worlds, who would be able to stand up to her? Just then, one beam of sword light after another shot out of the void around Jiu Ling. Countless beams of sword light slashed toward her, their energy vast and mighty. Dissolve them all. Jiu Ling called upon his profound skill, and all of the sword light that was coming toward him were instantly dissolved, as if they had never existed. Let's see how you're going to transform. True Phoenix descends. Yu Huang's voice came from above, and in the next moment, a phoenix larger than a mountain swooped down toward Jiu Ling. It was the eternal magic, the ultimate secret technique of the eternal immortal sect. Perfect timing. Break the limit with a single punch. Chapter 4603. A true phoenix descends into the world, invincible. This was a boundless secret magic of the eternal immortal sect, and it was also their eternal magic. Yu Huang used it to transform into a true phoenix that soared into the highest heavens, burning the void with godfire. Such a powerful and terrifying attack was something that an ordinary quasi-sovereign would definitely not be able to withstand. Their bodies and souls would be destroyed in an instant, and they would end up dead. The quasi-paragons from the celestial world, the mortal world, the primordial world, and the ancestral realm were all shocked. To them, eternal law was a deadly secret magic. Even the old turtle, with his Xuanwu armor, wouldn't be able to stand up to Yu Huang's attack. None of the heirs of the top organizations in the ancestral realm could stand up to her, not even the heirs of the eternal paragons. In the ancestral realm, the crown prince of the Leaf clan had come as well. He was the son of the eternal paragon, who had been sealed in the present, and had only recently been released. The crown prince of the Leaf clan was extremely powerful, and he was nearby, watching the battle with a very serious expression. Extreme shattering fist. Jiu Ling did not retreat in the face of such a powerful attack. Instead, she struck out with her extremity-breaking fist. The moment she struck out, her strength instantly broke through her limits. This was the power of the extreme Tao, but it didn't contain the true meaning of the extreme Tao. It was just pure power. Therefore, it didn't trigger the super-killing formation Jiu Fei had set up. Only true extreme Tao level power could trigger Jiu Fei's super-killing formation. Boom! With an earth-shattering bang, Jiu Ling's fist collided with the real phoenix that had descended from the sky. Two unimaginably powerful forces intertwined and obliterated each other, forming a terrifying storm of destruction that swept out in all directions. Wherever this destructive storm passed, the void would collapse. The experts watching from afar retreated even further away, not wanting to be caught up in the shockwaves. After all, this level of power was simply too strong. If they were caught up in the shockwaves, they would be killed. Too strong. Even Qin Yarrow, who had also mastered eternal law, had to retreat. Rumble. The ground sank as Jiu Ling was smashed deep into the ground. A gigantic crater appeared on the ground. This crater was 10,000 miles wide. Yu Huang, on the other hand, was thrown high into the sky by the recoil. She crashed into the depths of the starry sky, and a few drops of true blood dripped down from the void. Yu Huang is injured. Even Beigong Yu, Master Polarity, and the others were shocked, especially Master Polarity. After all, the Martial Polarity Immortal Sect and the Eternal Immortal Sect were sworn enemies, and he knew exactly how strong Yu Huang was. Amongst the younger generation of Eternal World, Yu Huang's cultivation base was definitely amongst the strongest. Even if Chen Feng wanted to wound Yu Huang, it would be very difficult for him. And yet, a human from a lower plane had wounded Yu Huang. If news of this were to make its way back to Eternal World, it would surely cause a stir. Jiu Ling wiped away the trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. She suddenly raised her head, her gaze piercing through the void and landing on the figure in the depths of the starry sky. Kill. Jiu Ling stamped her feet on the ground, then transformed into a beam of divine light that shot up into the sky. In the blink of an eye, she shot into the depths of the starry sky and headed straight for Yu Huang. An earth-shattering battle erupted in the depths of the starry sky. At the same time, One beam of divine light after another shot up from the eastern region of the immortal mansion world and into the depths of the starry sky. Every single streak of divine light was an extremely powerful quasi-supreme being. These people were all there to watch the battle. No one wanted to miss out on a great battle of this level. Meanwhile, in another region of the immortal mansion world, Devil Dao Heretic was so depressed that he almost coughed up blood. Everyone in the world was after him. Even an extreme Dao Paragon would go green with envy at the sight of the primordial chaos essence, much less the quasi-paragons. Of course, Devil Dao Heretic was no weakling. Some of his pursuers were unlucky enough to be killed by him and have their cultivation base devoured. That actually helped him recover quite a bit of his cultivation base. What is this place? Devil Dao Heretic had arrived at a dark place deep in the immortal mansion world. Here, the sky was dark, and black clouds hung over the area. Lightning flashed from time to time within the black clouds. Devil Dao Heretic could sense that the lightning-type spiritual energy in this area was very dense, and there were occasional flashes of lightning in the air. Where do you think you're going, demon? At this time, a large group of experts arrived. Devil Dao Heretic didn't even think about it. He directly charged into the place filled with the power of lightning. Boom! Devil Dao Heretic had just charged in when a clap of thunder rang out above his head. Then, a bolt of lightning descended from the sky, directly striking his head. Roar! Devil Dao Heretic roared angrily and staggered, almost falling from the sky. He hurriedly retracted his aura. When the group of people saw this, they hurriedly stopped. It's the Black Lightning Marsh, someone exclaimed. The Black Lightning Marsh was one of the most dangerous places in the immortal mansion world. Entering such a dangerous place would definitely result in death. It was better to be in the outskirts of the Black Lightning Marsh, but if one charged into the depths of the Black Lightning Marsh, they would truly die. That was because the depths of the Black Lightning Marsh were extremely terrifying. Preposterous. Everyone watched helplessly as Devil Dao Heretic disappeared before their eyes. These people were very cautious. None of those who could cultivate to the quasi-supremacy realm were simple. We will guard here and see if this fellow can stay in there forever. Someone roared angrily. Then you shall guard here. Someone directly left. The creation of this world was not limited to the primordial chaos source of Devil Dao Heretic. Soon, half of the group of people left. Just as Devil Dao Heretic was forced into the Black Lightning Marsh, He Tian had his eyes on Ziyang Emperor. Ziyang Emperor was attacking a huge tomb. This was the tomb of an extreme supremacy. He directly charged into the underground palace, wanting to obtain the treasures left behind by this extreme supremacy. He Tian quietly followed behind Ziyang Emperor. He had just entered the underground palace, and was shocked to see that there were shattered stone statues everywhere. Ziyang Emperor was extremely domineering, smashing all these stone statues into pieces. Just as Erebus was still in shock, heavy footsteps rang out. From the other side of the underground palace, 3 figures walked over. A cold and sinister aura swept over from the other side, causing the void to feel as though it was about to freeze. He Tian focused his eyes and saw 3 figures walking over from the other side of the tunnel. They were actually 3 stone golems, and each of them was incomparably powerful, bursting forth with tyrannical aura. Stone golems. Chapter 4604. The appearance of the tomb of an extreme Dao Paragon shocked everyone. Be it the quasi-supremes from the 4 worlds or the dragons from the eternal world, they all gathered in the direction of the extreme Dao Paragon's tomb. The tomb of an extreme Dao Paragon would definitely contain something incredible. Extreme supremes were existences that even the heavens couldn't destroy and the earth couldn't bury. Even if they died, their corpses would remain intact for millions of years, and there might even be extreme Dao source left behind. At that moment, the earth split open, and wave after wave of death aura rushed out from the depths of the earth. They were like poisonous dragons that wanted to devour all living things that approached them. The entire tomb was enveloped by the death aura, and the area within a radius of tens of thousands of li became a region of death. A wild beast came into contact with one of the death aura lingering in the air. The next moment, the wild beast, which was the size of a small mountain, turned into a desiccated corpse. This scene was witnessed by a black-robed woman on a short mountain in the distance. What a terrifying death aura, the black-robed woman muttered to herself. That wild beast's cultivation base was comparable to that of a sage, but it died the moment it came into contact with the death aura, turning into a desiccated corpse. However, such a terrifying death aura could not stop a true expert. Boom! A figure charged into the region enveloped by the death aura. The sound of air breaking was deafening, as if afraid that others wouldn't know that he had come. It's him. The black-robed woman frowned, turned into a black smoke, and charged into the region of death. At that moment, high up in the sky of the northern region of the immortal mansion world, the void suddenly shook, and the void rippled like water. Soon, a demonic light pierced through the void, and a black hole appeared high up in the sky. "We're finally here." A voice full of demonic nature came from the black hole, and several blurry demonic figures walked out of the black hole. The black hole behind them began to disappear. They were 4 demonic experts, led by a woman with crimson hair. She was very beautiful, and there was a vertical demonic eye between her eyebrows. Behind the crimson-haired woman were 3 demonic experts who were completely shrouded in black robes. The demonic aura on the crimson hair woman was faintly discernible, but the demonic aura on the 3 demonic experts behind her soared into the sky. Where did this demon come from? Die. At this moment, a furious roar was heard from a snow-capped mountain below. In the next moment, a beam of divine light soared into the sky and pierced through the blood-haired woman who was leading the group. Courting death. The blood-haired witch waved her hand, and the divine light that pierced through her collapsed in the void. Then, she pressed her right hand down. Boom! The snowy mountain below exploded, and a figure shattered in the void. Elder Yu's demonic arts are invincible. The 3 demonic cultivators behind the crimson hair which couldn't help but be moved when they saw this scene. Elder Yu's cultivation was getting more and more powerful. He might even be stronger than Elder Zhong Yang who had fallen here. He's just an ant. The blood hair witch said calmly. The 3 demonic experts were speechless. The guy who was killed by Elder Yu was a quasi-supreme martial artist. The blood-haired demoness was none other than Elder Zhong Yu of the Eternal Demon Sect. It was impossible for the Eternal Demon Sect to ignore Zhong Yang's death in the lower world. After all, it was an Eternal Demon Sect elder who had fallen. There's actually a super-killing array set up by an Eternal Realm expert here. Before Zhong Yu entered the Immortal Mansion world, she had sealed her cultivation. Now, she could only use the cultivation of a peak quasi-supreme martial artist. She could see that this world was enveloped by a super-killing array. Even though she was a half-step Eternal Realm expert, she didn't dare to take the risk. Go find someone and ask where the guy who killed Zhong Yang, Jiyu Fei, is. Zhong Yu ordered the 3 demonic experts behind her. Yes, Elder. After receiving the order, the 3 demonic experts immediately turned around and left. The northern region of the Immortal Mansion world was a world of ice and snow. Here, everything was white as far as the eye could see. Come out. Haven't you seen enough? Zhong Yu suddenly turned around and looked at a snowy mountain in the distance. She saw a white figure walking out from behind a boulder. It was a woman in white. She was Yang a demonic cultivator. You don't seem to be a demon from the 4 worlds. Are you from the Eternal World? Yang looked at Zhong Yu calmly. Zhong Yu saw through Yang Er's cultivation with a glance. This woman's cultivation base seemed to be on the verge of breaking through to the extreme Dao realm. When did the creatures of the lower realms become so powerful? Zhong Yu muttered to herself. This trip from the Eternal World to the lower realms had left her in disbelief. There were simply too many powerful creatures in the lower realms. When she first entered the Immortal Mansion world, she had gone on a killing spree outside and provoked an Eternal Freak. She had nearly been wiped out by him. Fortunately, she had escaped quickly and escaped into the Immortal Mansion world with her 3 subordinates. In the end, an Eternal Freak was still much stronger than a half-step Eternal expert. Although it was an Eternal Freak, it was still an Eternal. Little girl, do you know where Jiyu Fei is? Zhong Yu asked directly. Why are you looking for him? Did he kill your men? Yang was still very calm, as if nothing in the world could move her. I'm looking for revenge. Zhong, you didn't hide anything. You want to find him for revenge? Let's see if you have the ability to do so. Yang flipped her right hand and a pitch-black ancient cauldron appeared in her hand. This was the Myriad Medicine Cauldron, a legacy treasure of the Pill Cauldron School. Interesting. Zhong Yu smiled, and the demonic light in her eyes became even more bizarre. It was as if there was a magical power that could frighten the soul. Since someone dared to challenge her, she would play with this little girl. As an elder of the Eternal Devil Sect, Zhong Yu had lived for God knows how long. In her eyes, Yang was just a little girl. Buzz. At this moment, the Myriad Medicine Cauldron in Yang hand suddenly shook. The next moment, 9 black shadows rushed out from the Myriad Medicine Cauldron and pounced on Zhong Yu. This was the Myriad Poison Incarnation. It was faint and incorporeal, but once Yang Myriad Poison Incarnation pounced on her, even a Quasi-Supreme would die. What is this? Zhong Yu's right hand slashed in front of her, and the 9 black shadows that pounced on her were instantly cut in half. However, even though the black shadow was sliced into 2, it instantly reformed and continued to pounce towards Zhong Yu at an extremely fast speed. Zhong Yu threw a punch at the black shadow in front of him, directly blasting it into smithereens. However, she only felt a burning sensation on her fist. She quickly looked down and saw that her entire fist had turned black. Poison. Chapter 4605. In the northern domain of the Primal Chaos Immortal Mansion world, Yang was battling Elder Zhong Yu of the Eternal Devil Sect. Zhong Yu had sealed her half-step eternal cultivation base and suppressed it to the quasi-supreme realm. However, although she couldn't use the power of the half-step eternal realm, or even the power of the extreme Tao, she had an incomparably powerful devil body. However, even with such a powerful devil body, she still couldn't resist Yang poison. Yang 9 myriad poison incarnations were even more terrifying than Zhong Yu had imagined. Zhong Yu smashed one of the incarnations with a single punch, but her fist instantly turned as black as ink. Zhong Yu's right fist shook, and wisps of black gas immediately seeped out of her fist and dissipated into the void. That was the poison from the myriad poison incarnation being forced out of her body. A half-step eternal devil body was so powerful that even the myriad poison cosmic cauldron's poison seemed unable to harm her. Swish. The incarnation that Zhong Yu had smashed condensed again, and then pounced on Zhong Yu. 9 incarnations pounced on Zhong Yu at the same time. The 9 incarnations erupted with poisonous gas that enveloped the entire void, and the poison seeped into every inch of the void. All of the snow within a range of several thousand li became black, infected with terrifying poison, wiping out a region. Fortunately, the northern domain was a world of ice and snow, and there were no living creatures. If it were anywhere else, it would have been a disaster. Child's play. Zhong Yu was an elder of the Eternal Devil Sect, and had fought with experts from all over the world. She had seen all kinds of storms and waves, so how could she be afraid of poison? Moreover, there were also experts of the Devil Tao who cultivated the poison Tao in the Eternal Devil Sect. His body shook, and a ball of demonic light immediately burst out from his body. The 9 myriad poison clones directly collided with the ball of demonic light. Boom! The 9 myriad poisons incarnations exploded immediately. Streaks of pitch-black Tao patterns were imprinted in the void. Even the void was corroded by the terrifying poison. Zhong Yu's protective demonic light dimmed. Zhong Yu couldn't help but be moved. This little girl's poison was really powerful and unique. Even the great devils of the Eternal Devil Sect who cultivated the poison Tao couldn't compare to her in terms of the poison Tao. The unique and powerful. Zhong Yu roared furiously. In the next moment, an extremely violent demonic power erupted from her body. It swept out in all directions like a stormy sea, dispersing all the poisonous gas in the surroundings. This was the Eternal Devil Sect's revered devil art. Zhong Yu's revered devil art was indeed filled with a domineering aura. It was as though the ancestor of all devils had descended into the world, looking down on the world with disdain. Myriad Poison Universe. Yang unleashed her killer move right away. A void appeared between the heaven and earth and swallowed Zhong Yu within. Preposterous. Zhong Yu was truly enraged. The supreme devil shadow appeared within the infinite poison cosmos and directly opened up the entire infinite poison cosmos. That devil shadow was unimaginably huge. That was a void created by Yang Er. This void was a void of destruction, filled with the most powerful toxins. Even a quasi-supreme would die if they were trapped in Yang Er's infinite poison cosmos. A quasi-supreme would not be able to resist Yang Er's poison at all. Moreover, given Yang Er's current cultivation base, there were probably not many people in the same realm who could resist Yang Er's poison. However, at this moment, a devil shadow forcefully opened up Yang Er's infinite poison cosmos. Huge cracks appeared in the void one after another. Some of the cracks even had chaotic chi seeping out. How is this possible? Yang Er was shocked. She knew that the opponent she was facing was definitely the strongest one she had ever faced. This battle might be the key to her becoming an extreme supreme. Her cultivation base had already reached a subtle state. Even Yang Er herself could not control this state. However, as long as she could pass this stage, she would be able to become a true extreme supreme. If she could not pass this stage, Yang Er might never be able to become an extreme supreme. For those who failed to break through to the extreme supreme, the best outcome would be a great loss of vitality and a decline in cultivation base. The worst outcome would be chi deviation and death. Of course, with Ji Fei's capability, he would naturally not let the worst outcome happen. I don't believe that I can't suppress you. Although Yang Er was indifferent to fame and fortune, it did not mean that she did not have a competitive heart. She directly activated the cauldron of myriad poison in her hand. The cauldron of myriad poison soared into the sky from her hand. In an instant, it became as huge as a small mountain and directly pressed down on the void of the universe of myriad poison. Rumble. The entire infinite poison cosmos void shook violently. The cracks in the void were continuously repaired by the mighty power of the infinite poison cosmos cauldron. Zhong Yu, who was trapped in the infinite poison cosmos void, naturally sensed the changes in the entire infinite poison cosmos void. She only felt an endless pressure coming from all directions, so much so that she could not straighten her back. Not only is this little girl's art of poison powerful, but her cultivation base is also very strong. Zhong Yu finally understood why the other party was not afraid of her. She was confident. Boom. Another powerful devil Dao power erupted from Zhong Yu's body. The power of the supreme devil Dao seemed to have no end. The huge devil shadow once again supported the heaven and earth. This devil shadow was like a supreme devil that split the sky and earth. On the devil shadow, the chaotic devil chi was vast and mighty, and the extremely overbearing pressure collapsed the heaven and earth. This, in the outside world, Yang Er's expression changed drastically. This devil was too strong and had exceeded her expectations. Even if she used the infinite poison cosmos cauldron, she seemed to be unable to suppress this guy. This was the first time she encountered such a powerful devil. In fact, after continuous training, Yang Er's combat experience was already very rich. However, compared to Zhong Yu who had lived for countless years, she was still very inexperienced. Kill. Yang Er directly sat on the infinite poison cosmos cauldron and became one with the cauldron. She used all her strength to activate the infinite poison cosmos void. Endless Dao patterns erupted from the infinite poison cosmos void. An extremely strong force erupted from the infinite poison cosmos void, and this force was added to the infinite poison cosmos void. Yang Er was going against Zhong Yu. However, wasn't Zhong Yu also going against Yang Er? Both experts were using their strongest power, and it was already difficult to get off the tiger. One had to know that at this time, whoever retreated would be killed by the other party. Rumble. Two extremely powerful forces constantly collided, and the surrounding void was constantly collapsing. However, it quickly reformed, and the cycle repeated. Chapter 4606. Yang Er confronted Zhong Yu of the Eternal Demon Sect. At that moment, Zhong Yu was extremely depressed. If she was in the eternal world, she could kill a whole bunch of quasi-supremes with a single slap. But now, she was being bullied by a little girl who was not even an extreme supreme. If her enemies in the eternal world were to find out about this, wouldn't they laugh their heads off? Supreme demonic art, eternal demon body. Zhongyu went all out. A huge demonic shadow split the sky and shattered the void. Even the myriad poisons cosmos cauldron that was suppressing Yang Er's myriad poisons void was sent flying. An extremely violent demonic power erupted, destroying everything in its path. What? She still has such a powerful follow-up. Yang Er could not help but be shocked. This demon was too strong. She had already used her trump card, but she was still unable to suppress this demon. Boom! A loud sound rang out. The next moment, the entire myriad poisons cosmos void exploded. A demonic shadow appeared between heaven and earth, seemingly capable of smashing a hole in the sky. Yang Er coughed out blood and was sent flying. Little girl, die. Zhongyu's voice spread throughout the entire northern region of the Chaos Immortal Mansion world. Rumble. A huge hand slammed down from the sky towards Yang Er. The entire sky was enveloped by this demonic hand, and monstrous demonic energy spread out in all directions. Extreme Tao. At that moment, Yang Er felt the threat of death. The demonic power that erupted from the opponent was no longer at the quasi-supreme level, but at the extreme Tao level. Zhongyu lost her patience. She finally broke the seal on her body and unleashed the power of the extreme Tao level. Mitch, you're courting death. Very well. Yang Er had no intention of dodging. She smiled and faced the demonic hand descending from the sky. She was not afraid at all. TCH, I thought this great formation was powerful. It turns out you're just scaring yourself, Zhongyu said disdainfully. Zhongyu said disdainfully. She was a high and mighty elder of the Eternal Devil sect. She didn't care about the super-killing array in this world. However, the next moment, her expression froze. A sword light shot out from the depths of the sky, flashing through the void. Zhongyu's eternal demon body's demonic hand fell to the ground. Eternal. Zhongyu's shock was no small matter. Only now did she realize how terrifying this super-killing formation was. It was actually eternal power. Could this be a trap? Zhongyu thought of a certain possibility and couldn't help but be shocked. At this moment, the entire killing formation was activated. The thing that was supporting the entire killing formation was a sword. To be exact, it was an eternal god sword. Zhongyu was too arrogant. He thought that just because he had a half-step eternal cultivation, he would be invincible in the lower realms and could ignore all opponents. But now, she realized how arrogant she had been, and it was because of her arrogance that she had suffered a lot. The formation has been activated. Above the 9 heavens, Tong Yu, who was in control of the entire situation, suddenly stood up. Who's courting death? Di Jotian also wanted to know who the person who dared to ignore the super-killing array that his master, Ji Yufei, had set up was. Demon King. Tong Yu and Di Jotian were inexplicably shocked. They both felt a power no weaker than their own awakening. To be precise, that power was breaking through the seal and being released by its master. They stared at the gigantic demon in the western region. They also wanted to know if the peerless killing array that Ji Yufei had set up could kill this demon. Half-step eternal. A sigh suddenly came from Ji Yufei's seclusion ground. In the next moment, a figure rushed out from Ji Yufei's seclusion ground. In an instant, he ascended to the 9 heavens and took control of the entire killing formation that covered the entire world. Boom! The killing formation was fully activated. An unimaginably terrifying power fluctuation instantly spread throughout the primal chaos immortal mansion world. What's happening? Is it the power of the extreme Tao? Who's using the power of the extreme Tao? Is he courting death? Throughout the primal chaos immortal mansion world, countless experts were shocked. At this time, one immortal sword light after another descended from the sky, slashing towards Zhongyu's eternal demon body at an extremely fast speed. Zhongyu's eternal demon body was directly struck by the immortal sword light. The sword light directly penetrated the eternal demon body, destroying countless demonic patterns. The eternal demon body, which was so powerful that it could pierce through the heavens, immediately dimmed. Seal for me. Zhongyu wanted to seal herself again. One demonic pattern after another rushed out of her body, directly imprinting itself onto the eternal demon body. Only now did she realize that this world had the power of the eternal demon body. Perhaps only a true eternal demon body would be able to contend with this world's eternal demon body. She had actually activated the power of the eternal demon body. This was simply suicide. At this time, Yang Er's body suddenly emitted a divine light. A vast power formed around her, and the void seemed to echo with the sound of chanting scriptures. Above the sky, the sound of thunder rumbled, and a terrifying might of heaven and earth descended upon the western region of the primal chaos immortal mansion world. I've finally reached this step. Yang Er knew that she could no longer suppress her cultivation. She was about to break through to that realm, but now didn't seem to be the time. She couldn't undergo the tribulation here. Should I go to the primal realm or the primal beginning realm? Yang Er had a headache. She couldn't go to the mortal realm or the heavenly realm, because these two realms had the power of heavenly punishment. If she went there to undergo the tribulation, she would die in minutes. But the primal beginning realm and the primal beginning realm didn't have heavenly punishment. The primal beginning realm had many enemies of Gu Fei, so it wasn't safe there. The primal beginning realm, thinking of this, Yang Er directly rushed towards the exit of the primal chaos immortal mansion world. When she had traveled the world before, she had gone to the primal beginning realm. There were only extreme Dao Supremes there, and there were no eternal Supremes above the extreme Dao Supremes. Comparatively speaking, this was much safer. Just as Yang Er was about to reach the exit of the primal chaos immortal mansion world, a divine light descended from the sky and landed in front of her. The divine light dissipated, and a divine sword appeared in the void. The body of the sword was like a starry sky, dotted with specks of starlight. This was Gu Fei's 9 heavenly stars sword. Yang Er glanced at the sky, then waved her hand and put away the 9 heavenly stars sword. Then, she rushed out of the primal chaos immortal mansion world. At this time, the super killing formation was activated. Zhong Yu could no longer care about attacking Yang Er, because she could no longer protect herself. Its elder Zhong Yu, the 3 demons from the eternal devil sect that Zhong Yu had brought along, were all shocked to the extreme when they saw their giant bodies being pierced by the extremely sharp sword light.